Long shadows cling to the obscure and Gothic architecture of an ancient hall. Darkness drips from its corners, and footsteps echo upon a cold stone floor. On each side of this hall, in silence, are shadow-drenched individuals, stood shoulder to shoulder. They wait. They listen. From the far end of the hall, we see a hunched-backed figure. His name is Gulter, and grunting and snarling under his breath, he limps towards a cowled individual. "Spy Master, you summoned me," Gulter grunts. "Yes, Gulter. It is time. I assume you have established who shall serve us best in our next endeavor." With that, Spy Master turns, and with a flicker of his eyes, this yawning black portal opens before him like a whirlpool of darkness. Disembodied whispers echo from it. "You shall sing Canolia, Sacatolia." And as these voices continue, Gulter continues. He says, "Well, Spy Master, Flick would be my first choice." "Flick is otherwise engaged," Spy Master responds. "She is acting as an intermediary on a highly important matter." Gulter gulps and takes a breath as if wondering whether he should continue, but he pushes the subject and he says, "Is that anything to do with..." "Don't take it personally, Gulter. But if you finish that sentence, I'll have you killed." Gulter naturally stops. With another gulp, he looks to Spy Master and he says, "Very well, Spy Master. So on to our contractors. Let us begin. First we have Silas Cadwell." And the individuals look deep into the yawning portal. "Silas Cadwell, what do we see?"
The scene opens in a moonlit courtyard within the City of Freedom Salvation. Among the shadows stands a man who is waiting for someone to arrive. From across the courtyard, a young man dressed in a black bowler cap and coat approaches the shadowy figure. The man cloaked in shadows hands the other a docket of papers. As the young man opens the docket and begins to read, the voice from the shadow speaks. "Silas Cadwell, ex-inspector of Freedom Salvation City Watch." "An ex-inspector, sir?" the young gentleman asked. "He was discharged ever since the incident several years ago." "What incident would that be, sir?" he continues to ask as he flips through the docket. "Cadwell was investigating into a private feud between two noble houses, whose retaliations against one another had started to call attention to themselves. They felt Cadwell was getting too close and would soon expose them. The result was a fire in his home. He tried to save his wife and daughter, ended up losing a leg and scarring his face in the process. His wife and child did not make it." "And now, sir?" "And now Cadwell works for us. As broken as he is still a valuable asset. Now we need you to bring him in." The young man closes the docket. As he reaches into his coat, he produces a small flame and sets it to the papers as they catch fire. "Where would I find him, sir?" The clicking and clacking of footsteps echo in the courtyard as the shadowy figure walks away. His voice calls out, "Try the opium house." Pardon me, sir? Did you say the opium house? Our scene fades. As it reopens, we find ourselves in a dark common room lit by dim lamps. The room is filled with a haze of blue smoke that hangs in the air. Lounging among the plush pillows and carpets are various patrons, attended by both women and men hosts that are dressed in finery. In one room, a small group has gathered as they play a popular gambling game known as the Falling Bones. Seems very exciting. In one of the dark corners of the room, a man is waiting as one of the hosts prepares his smoke pipe. In his gloved hand sits a small open silver locket bearing two portraits, that of a lovely woman and a young girl. His other hand runs along the right side of his face, revealing scar tissue resulting in burns. He closes the locket, tucking it into his vest as he's handed the pipe. He takes a long, smooth drag as the embers flare at the tip of the pipe. He exhales as the blue smoke fills his vision momentarily, and as the smoke clears before him stands a young man dressed in a black bowler cap and coat. Silas Cadwell, I presume? Silas examines the young man for a moment before speaking. I see they continue to insist on sending me a chaperone, despite what happened to the last one. Such a shame, really. I was just starting to get used to having him around. Excuse me? What happened exactly? A moment of concern on the man's face. That wasn't in your briefing before you sent you? Before the man can answer, these two burly thugs start to approach to them. As Silas takes his cane, before the young man can answer, Silas, be a good lad and hand me my cane, would you? As he walks past the young man, wait outside and have the carriage waiting. I shouldn't be more than a moment. The thugs approach Silas as they escort him upstairs. In the upstairs room above the opium house, Silas is led into a large room where at a desk sits a man with whom his renown in the criminal world. Before Silas gets too far into the room, the thugs frisk him. They relieve him of his sidearm, a hand crossbow, and set it on the desk. Satisfied that Silas is unarmed, the mobster motions for Silas to take a seat as the thugs flank him on either side. Silas, so nice to see you. I take you have what I asked for? Of course. I am, after all, a man of my word. Silas begins to reach for his peg leg when one of the thugs stops him. Silas looks at the mob boss. May I? The mob boss motions for the thugs to release him. Silas pulls from a hidden compartment within his leg a scroll and places it onto the desk. The mobster cracks open the scroll and begins to read as a smirk comes across his face. I have upheld my part of the bargain. Now I want a name. The mobster re-rolls the scroll, tucks it away. I'm afraid I cannot do that, Silas, as this is where we must part ways. He nods to the thugs, but before they have time to react, Silas grabs at his hand crossbow and fires a bolt into the gut of one of the closest thugs. He then takes his cane and rapidly disables the other thug in a series of blows, resulting in the thug being flipped over on top of the desk and smashing it into debris. The mobster tries to quickly escape, but before he is able to, Silas quickly unsheathes his rapier that was hidden within his cane and thrusts it towards the mobster's throat. The blade stops short and holds the mobster at bay. A name. Outside, we see the young man in the black bowler cap and coat waiting by the carriage. The sound of glass breaking and crashing to the stone cobbles below disturbs the quiet night as Silas comes rappelling down by a rope. Good lad. Now quickly, we must be off. I'm afraid our company here is not wanted anymore. Silas and the young man climb into the carriage, and as it pulls away from the opium house, we hear the city watch bells as the city watch starts to close in. And our scene fades to black.
And as it fades and you make your escape, Silas, you happen to notice that all this time, right next to you, maybe in your pocket, is an unopened scroll with the unmistakable symbol of the Court of Whispers. We move back now to that dark hall, and Spymaster utters another name. Looking deep into the portal, he whispers, Jasher Escal.
As the portal swirls and as the vision clarifies, you see a hooded figure walking down the street, a scroll in her hand. Nothing sounds until we enter into her mind, and then we hear, Jasher Skull, by formal request you have been elected by the court for this mission. You are to enter the monolith, as I'm aware, and have been informed your particular set of skills should allow you easy access. Your Shaper's Draught has proven useful in past such missions. You will find it on the uppermost floor in the atrium. The Heart Vault will not be easy to access, but again, I've been promised that your particular set of skills will gain you entry. Return the quill to the court once you have retrieved it, and you will be handsomely rewarded. When all is but a whisper, we will be there to hear it. Make it flashy. Let them know nowhere is safe. Jasher takes the scroll, rolls it up in her hands, and slides it inside of her large trench coat. Flashy, they say. Well then, shall be done, for ours is the whisper. As she approaches the massive block of black stone that rises up out of the ground, the magisterium headquarters in the God King's capital, the monolith itself. She reaches into her cloak and removes what appears to be a small vial. Inside, a liquid shines back and forth. For a moment, she reaches and pulls out another vial and dumps the two together. The inside becomes a whirlwind, and as she drinks it and then pours it over herself, she disappears. The body itself becomes that of an invisible stalker as she moves towards the keep. Sliding easily up along the wall, she approaches the uppermost windows that should be inaccessible to all but those with the strongest of magic. As she approaches, it is silence. The wind blusters around her, and the storm's rain falls silently on the streets below. A single window lies open at the top. With a rustle, the shutters clatter, and a man leans out, a guard, unsuspecting. Claws rip at his throat and pull him from the roof itself, sending him tumbling, screaming to the roads below. She pulls her way through the window, ethereal, nothing but the wind, and approaches into the corridor, where there, surrounded by 3 feet of steel, lies a vault, the Heart Vault. Removing her form after making sure nothing is there, she pulls out another vial. She dumps it onto the metal, which begins to heat rapidly. She waits momentarily as the metal becomes blistering hot. And with a smile, the hinges, she takes another vial and pours it over it, becoming blistering cold and shattering the steel. With a grunt, she pushes the door inward with a loud thud and walks forward. There, resting on a pedestal, is a quill. Small in comparison to the room itself. She looks down at it. She knows what this is. The quill of creation. That which can make the telling work itself. She pulls it and slides it into the inside folds of her robe with a smile as guards rush up to the door behind her. She turns, looking at them, still part shadow and part wind. They stop, staring. One of them, with a hushed voice, whispers, "What are you, a monster?" With a smile, she pulls out another vial. She says, "You have not seen a monster," and pours it over herself, becoming a massive black reptile, caustic liquid dripping from her mouth. Now before them rests a young dragon. With a grin, she looks at them and says, "Perish," and sprays caustic fluid over them. Screams echo down the corridor as they melt into puddles, leaving behind only white bleached bones and green piles of goo. With a roar of triumph, she breaks through the stone, ripping and sundering metal itself, and flies off into the night. Screams sound below as the stones slam into the streets, and all that can be heard in the distance are the roars of the dragon.
And those roars echo back through this black whirlpool-like portal. And Spymaster smiles beneath his cowl. He says, "Ah, yes, Jasher, the one who retrieved the Quill of Creation. He will do nicely. Next, Damien the comedian.
The scene starts with a normal-looking man serving a very, very ugly man, a guild master of a thieves guild in Freedom Salvation. That man is very self-conscious about his ugliness, and the servant serves wine to him and another man, a very nervous man, a corrupt city official. This one wants to destroy an orphanage to build brothels and drug dens. And the first servant gives wine and makes sure everything is okay. And after that, a clumsy servant drops food on the ground in a clatter, provoking the anger of the guild master. While everyone is distracted, the first servant moves his hand, mutters some arcane words. The city official begins to smile and to laugh madly. And the guildmaster is enraged, thinking he laughs at his misfortune in his face. And while it's happening, first servant retreats discreetly with the second servant, charmed magically. And in the distance, we can hear the men laugh and laugh until we hear a scream and a thud. Going back to the servant's room, the first waiter changes clothes. He grabs a black and white silk shirt and a bag of clothes. Give 10 gold piece to the second servant, says, I would suggest you to skip town. You could be in danger. After that, he leaves the building, changing how he moves. The man begins to apply some makeup while humming a children's song. He finishes by putting his black and white jester hat, and a few minutes later, children are shrieking with joy when they see the man. Carrying fruit pies and bread, he gives them to the children. They leave saying, "Thanks, Damien!" And the scene fades to black.
And Spymaster does something he rarely does, and that is smile. The comedian. There is no reason why a little mirth should be applied to this next endeavor. Good. And finally, Epidam Messai, the plague bird. The portal shifts and shrieks once again as a new image unfolds.
It is a new moon. There is no light in the sky. On the corner of the street sits a drow, a dark elf, blind. He is old, half of his ear is missing. In his lap sits his ancestral instrument of his people, the Sami Sin, the three-stringed instrument. With long nails, he plucks the strings, and gentle music fills the night of the city. Coupling it is the sound of boots walking on mud. A gruff man, cloaked, bearded, scars on his face, walks past the dark elf, turns, and walks into the dark alleyway beside him. He walks halfway down it, stops, and grunts. He hears a footstep behind him, and he turns. So, you're the plague bird, yes? The camera shifts. You see the robed chest of a man. You don't see the face or the head. You don't see below the waist. And the robe is so black, it looks as if it eats light. Both of this figure's arms are behind him. The camera cuts back to this man's face, to the man who is speaking, the scarred, bearded man. Well? And a voice answers him, and you still don't see the plague bird's face. The voice answers, saying, I am. The bearded man nods. Well, let's make this quick. There's not much time left. Did you bring it? The camera shifts again to the two hands of the plague bird behind his back. You only see his wrist, his gloved wrist. He removes them, and the camera follows them both back to his chest. They reach in, not into the robe, not into the cloak, but in, as if his chest was a portal, as if his body was a black hole. He reaches in, and he pulls out his long, thin vial filled with a clear fluid. The camera focuses on that vial, and the voice of the plague bird comes out again. It is here. By midnight, you will have what you wanted. The camera goes back to the thug, and he strides forward and he takes it from the plague bird and he hands it up and he pops it and he drinks it. Power is rushing through the thug. Power, unbridled confidence, a lack of fear. His eyes turn red. His beard goes from gray back to youth, back to that youthful brown, and the scars disappear. I'll pay you, as agreed. And the voice answers, I know. The camera shifts. We're in a forest. The forest slopes upwards away from a road. In the middle of that road is a carriage coming down, surrounded by 6 royal guards, each one dressed, firmly armored. You can see the royal insignias of birds catching their prey on each of their breastplates. You do not see who is inside of the carriage. The thug is in the woods, along with his entire bandit crew. They draw their swords, and the leader, emboldened by what he just drank, rushes forward. Inside of the carriage sits a shadow, and in that shadow's hand is a stopwatch. And on that stopwatch, you see the time. 1 minute till midnight. The bandits are shouting, they're rushing forward, and they come out, sword swinging. The knights turn, caught off guard. The stopwatch clicks. It is midnight. The stroke, the witch's hour, the hour of the wolf. The bandit thug who'd ingested that vial earlier stops. What the hell is this? He's stumbling around. Everything around him is blurry, and he drops the sword. He begins to cough as his bandit crew looks at him confused. The knights also look at him confused, seeing this man exuding this dark aura around him. And he begins to cough. And when he coughs, blood comes out, splattering his chest, splattering the ground. And blood begins to come down from his nose, from his ears, from his eyes as he cries and weeps his life out of him. And he looks around and he curses and he falls to the ground. We look again at that watch. It is 1 minute past midnight. The bandits are without their leader, and in that confusion, they are summarily slaughtered by the knights. After the slaughter ends, the knights sheathe their swords, and they disappear, turning into mercurial dust. The back of the carriage opens, and you see a foot hit the dirt, and a second foot. And this figure, again, you don't see anything but the feet, walks over to the slaughter, steps over the bandit thug, and a black-gloved hand reaches down into his pocket and pulls out a long, thin scroll. He holds it up, and the camera rises, and you see the plague bird's face. This beautiful, bone-white plague doctor mask, this wide-brimmed hat over it, these 2 thick, round glasses that you can see nothing beneath them. For you, spy master. And he rolls back his head and he slides it into the void of his chest. And he looks down again and he reaches back and he pulls out that same instrument he was playing before, the samisen. And he plays it as he goes back to the carriage, plucking the strings ever so gently. And the scene fades back to black.
Gentlemen, I would like all of you to take a point of inspiration for those fantastic introductions. We return once again to that black hall, shadows draped like finery across the walls. Spymaster looks to his hunched back servant and he says, "It begins." And our sight fades and then opens on a clear, dark night. The 3 moons in the sky beam down upon Carock, the formidable prison guarded by the feared iron fist of the seneschal himself, known as the Tribunal. The 4 of you have gathered on a cliff face that oversees this vast structure. It sits perched on top of cliff face itself, a cliff face that falls to the sea. It is a cold night in the month of Night Song. This prison is amidst the bordering mountains of Farwide. There is a single tall tower that rises from the front of the structure, its shadow falling on the long 4-story tall penitentiary. A lock is built into the rock face, a water tower designed to raise the water levels, to lift prison ships into its clutches. There is also a long bridge that juts from it to a smaller tower built upon a solitary sea stack some way from the shore. In an instant, Spy Master is standing before you. Good evening. I am so glad you could all come.
Good evening, Spy Master. And the plague bird just slowly dips his head, plague mask and all, in a very short but courteous bow.
Jasher would say nothing, would just nod.
Good evening. And he will take off his jester hat, place it back on his head with a big smile.
Silas looks over everyone, and he seems to concentrate a moment on the spy master, as if trying to glean some sort of clue exactly who might the spy master actually be. But maybe a story for another time. He just looks at everyone and says, "Oh, charmed, I'm sure."
Gentlemen, the night is never as long as we wish it to be, so I shall get to business. Before I begin, you must all be assured that you will receive all of your customary payments, and depending on how efficiently you work, you shall receive additional benefits. So I shall begin. Castle Lock, as I'm sure you are aware, is guarded by the tribunal. However, the commanding officer, known as Governor Ashworth, has disobeyed a direct order from Overseer Hezek, the leader of the tribunal. He has disobeyed in the fact that he has failed to execute a dissident who is held within the walls of Castle Lock, a former marshal known as Micah Wynn. If any of you would like to make a knowledge history check at this point, I would be more than happy to allow it.
Got a 16.
Excellent. If you'd like, for the viewers' benefit as well, if you'd like to say on camera, obviously, what you get as well.
DS.
23.
23, perfect.
10.
10, okay. So I'm going to say, for those of you who got higher than 15, are fully aware of the marshals. Essentially, the marshals were the progenitors to the tribunal. These were law keepers. If you imagine gunslingers of the Wild West, this is how law was maintained in the Nine Kingdoms for a long time, until one dreadful night of long knives, they were destroyed and replaced by the tribunal. This is an order that Micah Wynn used to belong to, but no more. Spymaster continues. It has come to the court's attention that this Governor Ashworth is wanting to profit from some information that this Micah Wynn knows. A secret that in truth could spell turmoil for the Nine Kingdoms, should it be discovered by the wrong interested party. He's been receiving a number of guests who have in turn been bartering for this secret. Your mission is simple. You are to infiltrate Castle Lock, and you are to execute the fool and traitor Ashworth, who seeks to sell the secrets of the Seneschal. You are to also locate Micah Wynn, the relic from a lost time. Destroy him so the secret is never learned. And finally, you must of course escape and journey east to the ruins known as Horizon. There you will report to an interested party for both your reward and everything that you deserve. Have I made myself entirely clear? And his vision scans the four of you.
As always, Spy Master.
In affirmation, Jasher nods her head and says, I serve the court. May the whisper be the last.
Understood. Let's have fun.
Crystal clear.
Very well. Then I bid you all the most pleasant evening. And Spymaster steps back as if he's almost going to step backwards off the cliff face that you're standing on, overlooking Carock. But instead, he is enveloped by the darkness of the night. The three moons beam down upon you, illuminating the gaunt face of Carock itself. And now I ask you, gentlemen, how do you wish to proceed?
Epidem turns on his heel to face his three comrades. I have prepared these for you. And he takes both of his arms and he reaches into his chest, elbow deep, and he begins to pull out artifacts alchemically created one by one, and he hands them to each of you. And all three of you can describe the magic items that I've just blessed you with and exactly how they look like. Starting with, I guess, Damien, just to keep things easy. I would hand him first. And then to Mr. Escal. And lastly to you, Mr. Caldwell.
So the gift that Epidem gives to Damien is like a stick that makes some sound, and it's like a miniature face of Damien, but quite with a strange smile. And just by taking it, Damien sense it's a very powerful item resonating with his song powers, and he says, "Thank you. I like that. Me and him. Thank you. Thank you. Did I say thank you?"
Your thanks are not necessary.
In Josh's hands rest a pair of golden crafted goggles, simple leather strap along the back. She kind of looks at them for a second and then places them over her eyes. And as she looks at people, these blue lines stretch for them, connecting to their minds to the goggles. For a moment, she kind of frowns. And then she tries to pry. She pushes on the line. I'm just going to choose a random person. So 1, 2. Let's go ahead and just do the Plague Bird himself. Go ahead and give me a wisdom save.
I fail it automatically.
Okay, so I'm able to glimpse like your thoughts.
When you look into Epidem's thoughts, it's like looking into a black hole, and you know that black hole that has something inside of it, and that something is looking straight back towards you, Mrs. Escal. And you hear the words, "I know what this does, and I know who you are using it on."
And Jasher just kind of whispers, standing next to him, "Wouldn't have it any other way, mate." And kind of pulls them off her eyes and kind of just slowly nods and starts walking over towards the cliff.
Silas taking this simple, looking to be nothing more than a simple gentleman's cap, peers over it as if examining its make, and then very gesturally just kind of puts it on his head. And as he does, his image shimmers for a moment, and then he looks just like the spy master, all cloaked in darkness. And he says, and he looks at you all and says, "Operatives?" And then takes off his cap, and the image shimmers away, and it just kind of closes in, and he just kind of tucks it into his long coat. "Should come in handy."
Yes, it should. Now then, comrades. And he puts emphasis on that word, comrades. He walks over to the edge of the cliff, and he looks down to the great sea that shores against the cliffs of Carock as well. And he says to you all, I do believe our target should be that tower first to raise the water level. Do you not agree?
Sounds like a plan, then. And how do we wish to approach?
I have a boat. And the word, that idea just sounds ridiculous. Him saying he has a boat when he's staying there with nothing at all. But he says it just dead ass straight pan to you. And then he continues saying, I believe it would be wise of us to use the boat to row to it, and then us to levitate up towards the tower and to cross the bridge from there. How do you three think of my idea?
Jasher nods and says, well, if we'll be going on the water, I'll get us eyes in the sky. She holds out her hand, and a little mouse crawls out from inside of her robe. She reaches down into her coat and pulls out a small vial and says, drink up, little one, and gives him a little bit of this potion, this liquid. As you watch, the mouse turns into a raven. She says, go see what you can find, and tosses it out into the air.
As you do so, he watches the raven move through the air and he says, can you see what it sees, Mrs. Akar?
She says, I can now. She takes a small swig of the potion and closes her eyes. And when they open, they are like that of a bird. Just that slit in the middle. And she nods and says, yeah, I can see what they see.
Good. And Rob, is there like an easy way to get down to like the bottom of this cliff so we can go across the water? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So the cliff before you isn't really an obstacle as such. It is just the place the Spy Master chose to give you a good overview of the location. You can easily descend by going around the cliff towards, there is a small cove where you would easily be able to get to the waterfront from there. You see the lock built into the side of this cliff, which can raise the water up to allow prison boats up into the clutches of Carock itself.
All right. So, okay. He looks over to you, the comedian, Damien, and he says, are you capable of swiftly hitting the Carock so that we can cross the water?
Repeat that. I was distracted by my stick.
And he, ignoring the fact that he's dealing with someone who's a sociopathic, schizophrenic, insane murderer, he points over towards where the lock is and he says, will you be able to handle this device?
Picking locks? Yeah, I can do that.
And you, and he points to you, Mr. Cadwell, will you be able to use that gift I have given you to appear as one of the guards of this lovely prison?
And Silas kind of taking your plan in, calculating all the missteps that could happen, the possibilities of being caught. And he reaches in and pulls out a small silver flask and takes a swig. I believe it should be not very difficult at all. This plan seems very sound. He just looks at you and motions towards the flask. Drink?
I do not partake And then he looks over. Oh, go ahead, Mrs. Call.
Just more for me then. And he takes another swig before capping it and putting it back into his coat.
By the way, as you go to cap it, Jasher like snags it out of your hand, takes a huge swig, and then hands it back.
Mrs. Escar, please ensure that nobody sees us as we do this. And then the plague bird would turn. He's going to go to that cove you mentioned, Rob. And as everyone else goes to do their portions of the plan, he's going to stand at the waterfront. And you see the smoke begin to billow from his stomach and from his legs, of just so surrounded by that void black robe. And as the smoke spreads across the water, and it begins to recede back, and he steps into this very mundane looking rowboat that he has conjured from within himself, essentially. And he still has his arms crossed behind his back, and he just sits down patiently in it, and he waits for the water to rise, hopefully as everyone finishes their own portions of the plan.
So my question is, can I scout with my Raven to see what patrol patterns are like?
You certainly can, yes. And it's something that I will also mention to you whilst you are formulating these plans. There is obviously the lock that your Raven can now see as it circles the skies above this formidable-looking prison. You see that there is indeed the lock. There is also a drawbridge to what appears to be a front gate as well upon the other side, now that you're able to get a full view of this thing. So there do appears to be multiple avenues of entering this place. You see a number of balconies up the single tower that reaches out at the front of this building. And in terms of the patrols, you see that there are, let me see. Okay, so there are 6 patrols moving around the perimeter of the castle lock walls, essentially, and each patrol is made up of 2 guards. So 12 guards in total are outside the walls.
And can we see the guards, or can at least I see what are they dressed like? What are they carrying on them? Those kinds of things.
So the ones on the outside, the ones that I'm going to be able to say that you will have managed to have a good look at them. Who knows how long you've actually been waiting for Spy Master to turn up. You've probably done a bit of reconnaissance, a bit of research before. And you can tell that these guards are rudimentarily armed and rudimentarily trained. These guys are on the outsides because the guards that need to do the real job, the tough job of dealing with the most dangerous criminals in the 9 Kingdoms, they're the ones that are inside. They're the ones that have to deal with the heat, as it were. The ones on the outsides are considered to have the cushier job. And yeah, they seem to be relatively skilled at what they do, but nothing out of the ordinary.
So they're kind of like, so if I get this correct, we're kind of overlooking this basin.
So yes, you are basically overlooking this cove. There is a huge stretch of the ocean outside of this cove where you can access the lock. And if you were to go around the other side, following the cliff face, you would also come to that gateway as well. To answer Marquise's question in the chat, the lock would be relatively close to you if you were to take the boat. It wouldn't take you long to get there at all.
Okay, so we'd all need to get in the boat, and then we go over there, and then the plan with Mars pause, and then we'd begin from there, correct?
Absolutely. It's entirely up to you guys how you act from here on in.
So what the Plaguebird basically said was basically he got in the boat, he was waiting for everyone else to get in the boat once the reconnaissance is done, and then when we move over there, it will be Damien and Caldwell who go to actually pick and raise the water level and everything, while me and Mr. Skull basically hang back and do reconnaissance and cover. That's basically what the Plaguebird was saying. So I'll straight on that.
I tell them that there are 6 patrols that I saw out and about also. And I would climb into the boat.
Let's go.
So once everyone is in the boat, he reaches into himself again, of course, as he is wont to do. And he just keeps pulling out this long steel pole, about 10 feet of it. And he uses it to basically push the rowboat off of the shore of the cove. He just begins to slowly row it over towards the tower where the lock would be at.
Perfect. So, would the Plague Bird be the one rowing?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm not going to ask any check for that, just curious. So you begin rowing this boat, and the sea is relatively calm tonight. You see those 3 moons reflected on the surface of the sea. And as you get closer to this lock, you see the gates, the water gates, have actually been left open, and you are able to row inside. You can see on one side of this gate there is a large wheel, a wooden wheel that would need to be turned by at least 2 people to one, close the gates and initiate the beginning of the water level to begin rising.
The Plagueburg looks at Mrs. Escal and he says, "We will handle this portion, and the under 2 will handle the actual lock itself. Do you all agree with this idea?"
Without a word. So this wheel is like near the water, you say?
So it's basically driven into the stone by these within the inside of these water gates. So the gates are here, and then on the side that you come into here, there is a wheel mounted to the wall. So if you're able to get the boat over there, 2 of you would be able to shift this thing round to get the gates closed and to initiate the process of allowing the water to rise.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So whoever wants to turn the wheel, essentially, I would need athletics checks from you both. Whoever wants to do it.
So it sounded like Marquise and I were taking care of that while they did the lock.
So I got a natural 20, so +1 makes it 21.
Okay, and I got a 15, so -1 is 14.
Perfect. Yeah, you are both able, and the plague bird, seemingly effortlessly, sort of with one arm, I think, just sort of does that. Jasher, you sort of look almost kind of taken aback at the core strength of this strange-looking individual, and it doesn't take very long for these vast water gates to seal you in to this cold stone cuboid that reaches up the cliff face, and you hear a ka-dunk as a mechanism shifts into place, and you notice that from the sides of this cliff face there are drains of which vast torrents of water begin pouring, loudly cascading into the water next to you, and the water begins to rise. As you are being drawn closer and closer and closer to the top of this cliff face, now inside the walls of this prison itself, I would like each of you to make a perception check, please, as this information may be vital.
Ooh, nat 20.
Woo! He's on it.
I gotta share my screen for this because I just got another nat 20. Which makes it 24.
Excellent. You guys are professional. All of the rest of you guys get, but to be fair, Roma, Machi, and what did Cadwell get?
23.
Okay, you guys are fine. So you see, looking down, is a portly guard who his the lower buttons on his uniform beneath a metal breastplate have seemingly popped open from this guy's gut. This is someone who probably doesn't work as hard as he probably should do. And this guy is gazing at you from the top, just looking up in some kind of confusion as to what's exactly going on here. And as the water level rises closer and closer, is there anything you wish to discuss or plan in the few moments you have before you reach the top?
So first, are there any other guards near him that I can see through the raven?
Oh, with the raven, of course. So this man is actually standing a good 80 feet from where any of the guards would be. You can see with the raven that there is actually a half roof portion of this thing, so you can only see halfway into this place. But what you can see are 4 other guards. However, they are about 80 feet away, and this place isn't lit entirely well, I will say.
Okay. So if it's okay with you guys, I want to try something to try and handle this.
Be my guest.
Okay. So I reach. So with my magic initiate, I'm able to take a spell from other places. So I'm going to use a spell called Lightning Lash.
Oh,
So what I do is I reach into my bag and I pull out a potion, and you can see inside of it static electricity. So this guy's wearing lots of metal, right? I'm assuming since he's a guard.
Yes, he is. He, in fact, has a metal breastplate on. He has greaves that reach up to his knees. Absolutely, he's got plenty of metal on him.
So I'm going to throw this at him, and what it'll do. So let me see exactly how this works. It's called Lightning Lure. So okay, I'll make a ranged attack.
Okay.
And I'm going to assume a 18 hits.
It absolutely does. Where does it hit him, and what does it do?
Okay, so you see as I throw it, there's a small wire attached to it. And this wire, as it sparks and explodes on him, there's a little piece of leather I'm holding at the end. And it supercharges and magnetizes to his armor. So before he's able to do anything, this piece of wire super magnetizes to him, and I just yank and pull him 10 feet off the edge down into the water.
I'm gonna say that you automatically succeed because that was incredibly cool. Yeah, this surging power just basically casts him into a rigid state, and he is unable to cry out as he is yanked over the edge and falls not far away from the boat. Does that do any damage, by the way? Just
Yeah,
so
it also does 7 damage.
7 damage. Okay. Let me see. He's going to take another bit of damage from falling about 80 feet. No, it wouldn't be about 60 feet, but still, he's going to take some damage for hitting the water that hard. So you can see that this portly, overweight guard has just belly flop smacked onto the water, and he slowly rises to the water, and you could see the faint amount of consciousness blinking behind his eyes as he's slowly trying to reach the boat. But other than that, he is unable to act. Would anyone else like to do anything?
Go ahead, Alan.
Sure. Yeah, no, as he goes to reach for the boat, Silas just kind of bends over to the side and kind of holds out his hand as if to help the guard. And as the guard takes his hand, he kind of pulls him up just enough that his like chest is out of the water. And he looks over at this guard, and he just kind of like nods to himself as if he's taken all the measurements that he needs. And then with a small flick of a dagger, he just like cuts his throat.
Would you like to do damage? Do you have sneak attack? Because that would totally be that.
I have insightful fighting, which is basically I make a wisdom insight check against his deception check, and if so, I can get sneak attack.
You automatically succeed. He's in no position to oppose that. So yeah, by all means. This is basically just a formality that we're doing here.
So, and then with that, as he lets him go and his body just kind of starts to drift in the water, Silas reaches into his coat, pulling out that cap, and he puts it on. And as he does, he looks his image shimmers just to that guard. He looks portly. It's popped. He's got a gruff beard and everything. And he's like trying to make his voice very similar to what he thinks this guard would have. He goes, "How's this, guys?"
Satisfactory.
And as the water level continues to rise, this portly guard does not, weighed down as he is by the armor that so betrayed him by conducting electricity so well, and he sinks beneath the water. And it is not long before your nice little rowing boat is now bobbing on the surface of this now full lock. You can see that there are 4 guards that stand on the edge of this, the far end of this vast hall. You can see that this could very well be used for larger ships other than rowing boats. But right now you're at a position where you'll be able to get out no problem. I am going to quickly do a perception check to see if any of them spot you. They do not.
What kind of position are these guards in? Like, what's the area around them?
So you're in a vast open hall right now. You can see that along where your boat has come to rest, you can also see that there is an area for excess water to pour in, almost like a canal that juts through the center of the room, about 80 feet away. And at the far end of that canal, so about 80 feet away, are 4 guards who are actually sat at a table and by candlelight appear to be playing a game.
So the plague bird Epidem, he reaches down to the rowboat and he touches it just barely. And as he does so, you see the smoke come from his fingertips, coil around it. And as the smoke pulls back, the rowboat is gone as he turns it into the deepness and the blackness of his costume. And he looks to the others and he says, "How would you like to deal with these 4 gentlemen this evening?"
And Jasher, just being just a smart Alex, quietly, hopefully.
Where is the lock that you mentioned? I can go there quietly, but where is it?
And the plague bird looks to Mrs. Escall, since she has the raven who knows where it is.
Yeah, and those eyes swap again to that yellow and that black slit down the middle. So how far away is this lock from us, and like what area?
The lock is the thing that you've just used to ascend the cliff with the water level. That's what a lock is. Sorry, I should have explained. So essentially a lock, it locks basically the gates in, the water level rises. It's like you see in canals. So you've actually just used the lock to get up the cliff face.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should have made that more clear.
So it's kind of like the Panama Canal type thing, where the lock is just the door shutting and locking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the way that you've ascended the cliff. You are now basically on the outskirts of the jail. You can see that beyond this sort of large warehouse hall that you're in, you can see beyond that is the main body of the penitentiary. And to your left now is that vast tower that reaches up into the sky, the one that looks grand in direct contrast to this grim-looking prison that lies beneath it.
I look at the others and I say, well, there's 4 watching at the top. 4 of us, 4 of them. We each take one. We're good.
Inefficient, the plague bird says. And he reaches into his stomach and he pulls out an empty vial and he holds it to the edge of the beak of his plague doctor mask. And you hear the sound of birds chirping and you see this liquid begin to pour into the vial. And then he quickly stops it. The liquid is crimson red. He holds it over to Damien. And he says, "If you would, Mr. Damien, please give this vial to the 4 men and break it on the table at which they sit around. Make sure you are not close to the table yourself."
Okay, so break it on the table. I can do that. Give it to me. Give it.
Here.
So, and the guards are, like you said, 80 feet away from me.
Yeah, they're some way away, and you seeing sort of like the architecture of this building is casting a lot of shadows in this place. So with a decent stealth check, you will be able to approach them unseen. You can see that they're laughing and gutturally talking while supping on like these large sort of tankards, clearly enjoying themselves rather than doing their job.
If you're all right with it, can I assist him also by distracting them by having my raven land on the windowsill and like say words? Because the raven
absolutely.
can mimic voices.
That's exactly the kind of thing that I'm aiming for, man.
Is your raven going to start like quoting like Nevermore to them, like the Edgar Allan Poe?
Nevermore
standing on my chamber door. Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. You'll be able to assist them with that. So make your rolls. Damien the comedian is going to approach. Then I would need the stealth check, and then Tyler, you can tell me what the raven does after that.
A grand total of 28.
My. So you are stealthily approaching, moving from shadow to shadow, and you are able to get as close to them as you like, essentially. What is it that you're doing? I see Marquise has just told us what that vial is going to do if you do smash it on the table, so I'm okay with it. Do whatever you want.
What I will do is, I will throw the potion at them, and if I will see what's the result of that, and saying maybe that they're catching fire. We'll see if they die, and if they survive, I will go. I will have some ways to deal with them.
That's perfect. So whilst you're approaching, that gives the others a fair amount of time. Now, this is something that I discussed with you previously before the game, but I will explain for those watching as well. I am stealing something from Matt Click, and I am saying that with successful stealth checks, you are able to dispatch some enemies, instantly, like Batman. So if all of you want to be close, just in case, well, it's entirely up to you. What would you like to do whilst Damien is creeping through the shadows towards these fools gambling at work?
So I just want to say the Raven lands on their table and they're playing cards, right?
Yeah, they're actually playing a popular dice game known as the Falling Bones.
Okay, so the Raven takes the best set of bones of dice and flies over to the windowsill, and as they're kind of looking at it, it drops them in the mouth as the vial's thrown. And they could swear the Raven winks at them and says, "Gonna die," and falls back.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, they actually, so this bird sweeps and they're like, huh? And they hear that as the alchemical flask is flung. So, Damien, if you would like to give me a ranged attack, I will say that the rest of you could have drawn closer if you want, but we'll deal with that in a bit. Make a ranged. Is it ranged attack? It is, because it's alchemy.
It would be a dexterity saving throw once the vial is thrown.
Oh, okay. Let's see if they make it then. So I will just roll.
DC is 16.
It doesn't matter because they all utterly fail. I rolled a disadvantage considering they were distracted by the wonderful Raven there. So what happens as this thing lands next to them?
The vial, once it hits the ground, when it shatters, it's not as if it's an explosion. It's not even as if a wizard cast fireball or someone just conjured fame. You see, when the flame spreads out because of its nature, it's superheating the air around them. That means it's superheating the air inside their lungs and their throats. That means they do not scream. They literally combust wordlessly, flailing around this burning table, trying to get away from their own burning, crumbling bodies. And in a flash, as their lungs and organs are consumed by fire, they mutely die.
Wow, that's incredible. I love that. And you watch as these writhing figures, Damien, as you're the closest, you see these guards become silhouettes of their former selves, enveloped by fire, them clutching at their throats. And as the last one of them falls, he hits the ground, and his hand opens, and you see these charred dice, 4 of them, and they all land on 1.
I was literally going to say the same thing.
Great way to think alike. I love it. Congratulations. You have just dispatched 4 of them like that. Other than the fires that now lightly ebb and die away, you are now in the darkness. You have the lock to yourselves. You see that the penitentiary can be accessed from a set of double doors that lie ahead of you. You can also see that there is a sort of like a larger warehouse door on the left-hand side of this room. How do you now wish to proceed?
Damien is gonna see if they add any keys.
You know, it's funny. One of them did have a set of keys, and it sat next to him on the table. That is now smoldering. There is a set of keys that has now been superheated. That sits on the table. Well, what is left of the table anyway, as I'm sure it probably would have just boom, went up. But there is a set of keys there, yes.
So
Yeah. Well, just Damien will try to get the key, but with maybe with some gloves or something to not get burned, and he will come back to his allies doing cartwheels and flipping all around.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, I'll say you're allowed to sort of pat at the keys until they're cooled, maybe perhaps, or drag them over to like a puddle of water caused by the lock and the water filling the lower end of this room. Silas, you were about to say something.
So Silas, looking like this portly guard, as the jester is getting the keys, he looks over to the plague bird, and again he's in that guise, but he just kind of like rubs the side of his face, and he says in the guard's voice over to the plague bird, "Very crude methods."
Elegance is reserved for those who wish to be inefficient. And he looks to you as he says it. And again, you just see the black holes of his plague doctor mask. And then with one black finger, he indicates the warehouse and he says, "Perhaps your current talents and form would be well suited to getting us through this side entrance, Mr. Cadwell."
And Silas just kind of holds up in his palm as waiting for the jester to hand him the keys as he wears the guise of the guard.
And Damien gives them to the guard, and gives it to you.
Perfect. So just so I'm clear in my mind, so are you approaching the door that's at the far end, at least to the penitentiary, or to the large warehouse-esque doors that are on the side?
Warehouse.
The large warehouse doors. Okay. You can see that these ones don't actually have a key as such. There is actually just a large bar that is thrown onto sort of things behind it, so it can't open shut. So that can be opened easily. Who's actually going to open the door, might I ask? Was it Silas heading over there, or?
Yeah, I'll be in front as I'm wearing the guard's guides. Yeah.
Sure. So you step a little ahead to ensure that your guide's effective if you were to run into anyone. And opening the doors a crack, I'm guessing you just peek through a little bit rather than opening them wide. Yeah, of course. So you can see that this actually leads to the grounds inside of the walls. You can see that there is just dirt and like old dead trees lying around. And you can see that there is a patrol moving on the inside of the walls.
All right, definitely relay that information.
That was a route we chose not to take, I assume. That leaves us with the penitentiary doors.
How many people are in this patrol?
So this is a patrol on the inside of the wall, and it probably would have been covered from your Raven's glance at first. You see that there are 4 guards moving in a square, 2 in front, 2 at the back, marching around. Each carries a spear over their shoulder. They seem to be a bit more disciplined than their colleagues who were sat gaming when they should have been working.
And you said they're inside the wall, not inside the warehouse area, but like inside the walls itself.
Yeah, so in coming through the lock, you're now inside the walls of Castle Lock.
Oh, okay.
There appears to be a different rotation of guards within the walls itself.
Okay, interesting.
We have 2 paths set before us. We can either go in directly to the penitentiary. There will likely be men on the other side. Or we could attempt to overcome the guards. I do have certain crude, and he looks to Cadwell when he says that, tools that can remove them from our equation.
Are there any guards in direct view of this group of 4?
So, no, not at all, actually. You're seeing that they're actually walking, and there's basically where the lock is at the moment is dead center in where the penitentiary moves along like that. They have a long wall which would block line of sight of anyone around the other side and anyone back the other way as well. So here at this point, they are in a blind spot, as it were.
Okay. I kind of lean forward and I ask I look at the plague bird. Do you have any more of that explosive fluid you were using before?
I do, but I will offer you an option, Mrs. Escal. And he reaches into his stomach again, deep down, again elbow deep, and he pulls out two things. One is an empty vial, which you know he can easily fill with the acid, or not that, with the fire. The other thing is a small, just silk bag. And he says, this bag contains a poison known as the essence of ether. Those who breathe it in will fall into a deep slumber for 8 hours unless they are damaged and hurt. You can either choose to put them asleep in Mrs. Escal, or you can burn them alive.
I look at him and I say, these men, they serve their justice. Let's be flashy. Give me 2 of the vials. And my raven lands next to me.
As you wish, Mrs. Escal. He drops the bag to the ground and he raises his foot as he does so and disappears into his ankle. And he pulls out another vial from his shoulder and he brings both of them in each finger to the edge of his plague doctor's masked beak. And again, you hear those sounds of birds chirping as the liquid just drops into both. And he quickly caps them and he hands them over, not to you, Mrs. Escal, but directly to his fellow raven.
Yeah, and as you hand them over to the raven, I pull a vial from my own side and drink it and then pour it over myself, and I turn into a raven as well. So my raven and I, we both take one of the vials, and we're going to do a bombing run on these guys on the wall.
That's incredible. Okay, so yeah, you absolutely can. So you and your raven are going to be dropping these vials on them. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, we each have one. We're both going to drop one right on top of them.
For the pure wonder of such a thing, I will allow you to do so with advantage.
Cool.
Ranged attack, I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
With the vials again, would it just be another dexterity saving throw, like it was for the table, or?
Oh, yeah, well, actually, yeah, I suppose it would be if we go. Yeah, okay. In that case, they'll do a dexterity saving throw. Is there? Well, I'm going by what your vials, what you have for your equipment. So, Marky, so like what?
These are actually my Sonat Chemist ability, and I'm using my formulas for this. So it's 3 to 6 fire damage to everyone, and who gets basically hit within a 5-foot radius of the vial. It's a DC 16 dexterity saving throw.
Oh, okay. In that case, I will make those then, but to make sure that you've got the advantage on that, they'll be rolling with disadvantage in that case. Here we go. Explain to me what happens as these land directly upon this poor square of guards.
So, like Marquise was saying before, just kind of this immolation, but more of like a superheating happens. But they get hit by one, and I almost imagine them stumbling around. They're more disciplined, like they're more trained. They know how to stand up, even though it hurts. And they kind of stagger a bit. And then as they look up, they see another raven approaching, and their eyes widen as it lands in the middle of them once more. And this brings them down. This superheats their armor, charring them, burning them from the inside, their skin blistering and ripping apart, bleeding from all angles, and they just collapse to the ground.
Incredible, yeah. They all collapse to the ground in a heap with a clatter. I did actually roll a save. I will actually re-roll again because they rolled no. In fact, I'll take that number. This is fine. So they have to roll. Yep, they failed that. So yes, they did fall asleep. Yeah, sorry, just double checking. That's all.
Wait, did he sleep them or did he burn them?
I thought you were sleeping them.
Burning.
You're burning them.
Yeah. Immolation.
Okay. In that case, then, so they take damage. So it's the same kind of damage as the guys at the table took. Yes?
Yeah. So 3d6. So I just rolled it right now. I got a 6, a 4, and a 5. So it's going to be 15 damage.
But then you have one more roll too.
Oh, that's 2 vials. That's right.
2. So yeah, roll it again.
Yes, that's gonna be 25 points of damage to each person.
Yeah, that's more than enough. Yeah, so that's fine. That's okay. We're all clear. These guys collapse in a heap. Embers, all that is left other than the armor and their sort of gaunt, charred faces that stare longingly up at the sky.
And one raven lands on each of Marquise's shoulder.
Perfect. And it's like, it is a perfect. You could paint a portrait of it. You have the 2 birds and then you have the bird-like mask as well. It's perfect.
And the plague doctor, he looks. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
The plague doctor looks to Mr. Caldwell and he's like, "Well, if the coast is clear, Mr. Caldwell, if you would lead the way, my portly friend."
And Silas will hold out his hand to get that sleep powder agent from you.
And of course, he drops it in there.
So yeah, he takes it and he goes and he just kind of like tips his hat and he goes towards the other door.
So these are the doors to the penitentiary, yes? Okay. They are locked, but I'm just going to say that with the keys that you'd taken or Damien had taken, I'm going to say you're able to open them. That's fine. Once again, tentatively opening these doors, I should imagine, you open and you see a long corridor that opens into a vast chamber. Stacked 4 stories high, with bridges running to and from these vast cell blocks, where you can see all manner of individuals slumped in cells, some rattling the bars, some jeering loudly, some whacking their mess tins up along the bars. Rank, rank, rank. There's the sounds of echoes, anguish, torment, and anger. This is the main penitentiary that you can see at the end of that corridor. And you are on the very lowest level.
I suppose that our dear compatriots are somewhere on a higher level than we are now. Mr. Damien, Mrs. Escal, the 2 of you, I believe, are very skilled in spying and stealth, correct?
Yes.
The ravens just kind of bob their heads.
I believe it would be wise for the both of you to be the ones who find our targets, while me and Mr. Caldwell, or rather, while Mr. Caldwell escorts me, his prisoner, throughout the prison, so that way we can ensure that we can provide you 2 with assistance, no matter where you may be. What do you think?
Oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I was going to say one raven flies back up and out, and one raven goes down.
I will try to find our targets, mainly Governor Ashworth. So, he takes his stick and, help me, you. And he just give a snap and he disappear, casting invisibility.
And Silas reaches into his effects and pulls out a pair of manacles and just comes over to the plague doctor and says, "Need to be convincing," and just kind of like wiggles them a bit at him.
In fact, we must be extremely convincing, Mr. Caldwell. And he reaches up and he pulls down the plague doctor mask and he removes the hat. But as he does so, you hear the rustling of something underneath. You hear the crunching of bone and the popping of skin. And as he slides the artifacts into his chest, you see not the face of Epidim. You see not the black cloak anymore. You see a man, an old, pale man, is standing in a prisoner's uniform as you manacle him, as he casts a sky self on himself to look like one of the prisoners, and then he is chained and manacled.
Absolutely perfect. So just so I'm clear then, so Epidam and Cadwell are going to head into the penitentiary. Jasher and Damien are going to go a different route, or what was your plan?
So I imagine one of my ravens starts at the bottom floor, and one starts at the top, and then Damien starts in the middle.
So you're going outside towards the tower?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? So the two birds are going to fly up and down the tower?
Yep.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. And Damien, are you heading to the base of the tower on the outside? Are you going to try and climb the tower from the outside, or are you going to find another way inside, or what are you going to do?
Damien is gonna climb because he can, as a jester, he can just cartwheel onto the walls, and if there is any opening like a window or he can go inside and still being invisible. So for at least 1 hour, so he has enough time to do some stuff.
Okay, so as the birds and Damien are going to be heading off to head to the tower, we're going to begin with the Plague Bird and Cadwell, as they are right next to where they're going to be heading. So the Plague Bird, now utterly disguised as this frail prisoner, and Cadwell disguised as this portly guard, is leading the way into the penitentiary. And you look up and you are able to take in the utter despair of this place. It is like something you've never seen. It's almost palpable, almost like a mist in the air. You can just feel this general mood of helplessness and the fact that most of the people in here have nothing to lose. As the guard, as you are the guard, Cadwell, you are noticing as soon as you step through into the opening of the main penitentiary, you hear jeers rise up, crescendoing, arms reaching through bars, futilely. Obviously, they're not going to be able to reach you, but regardless, trying to send as much malice and hatred your way because they have nothing better to do. They've been here for years. And as you continue on your path, you see that there is a set of stairs that basically go up one way and zigzag to the different layers of the penitentiary. There's different balconies and bridges that form up this place. You can see on the far side of this vast hall that there is the base of the tower, but on the inside you can kind of tell because it has similar architecture. And you notice that there is 1, 2, 3, 4 doors on different levels of this balcony. Which are you going to head for, if at all?
So I would imagine that me and the Plague Bird would be going for Ashworth first. So I would imagine he's most likely in the highest tier, being the governor.
Perfect. So as you are drawing your prisoner up the stairs, and as the jeering grows louder and louder as you draw higher up these stairs, we cut away outside where 2 birds are aloft in the sky. One flying up the tower, one soaring down, whilst invisibly a cheerful individual is climbing. So Damien, whilst I do this description for the 2 birds, if you would kindly give me I'm guessing an acrobatics check to govern you climbing. I will quickly say what Jasher and her raven are able to spot. So Jasher, are you the bird that's going to the higher portion of the tower or the lower portion of the tower?
I think I'd stay lower because I want to be able to respond if anything goes wrong at the bottom where they are.
Sure. Absolutely. So you are able to soar around, and it does not take any check to hear this, as you notice on the second floor, on a half balcony that only slightly juts out of the side of this tower, there are 2 guards just standing there having a frank discussion. and one of them says, "God, bleeding cold, innit? Oh, why do we always have to be posted here? The wind catches up something rotten here." And the other one goes, "Arm your noise! We're here, we got a job to do, all right? Just think yourself lucky that you're not guarding the sanctum." And the other one says, "Oh yeah, not the sanctum, not the sanctum. I had what's the word? The displeasure." The other one says, "Yeah, the displeasure of guarding the sanctum once. Oh, never forget the screams." And the other one goes, "Yeah, well, that's the jailer for you, innit? The jailer, he knows what he's doing. He's been here since, what they say, since the prison's been here. You need to watch out for him. Be thankful that you're cold and not toasty warm, as the jailer likes it." And the other one goes, "Agreed, agreed," and continues on this conversation about this figure known as the jailer.
When it's my turn, I'm going to do something, by the way.
Oh, no, you go.
Oh, I was going to say that I'm going to make... Is there a way to fly in on a balcony behind them?
With a stealth check.
Okay, good. I'm good at stealth. Okay, 17.
So basically, one of the guards is sort of looking back, almost like he's sort of yearning for the warmth that can be found inside, and then looks back. And as he looks back, there's a boom as your raven form sort of darts into the room, and you're able to conceal yourself immaculately.
So he didn't see me come in. So
Nope.
I'm guessing they turned back their conversation.
They have, yeah. They're still going on.
Do I know what this Ashworth looks like?
That is a very good question. I'm going to say no, unless for any reason you would have had to have been involved with either the tribunal or the prison itself.
Okay, probably not. I'm going to probably say that I probably haven't.
That's fair.
Okay. So what I'll do instead is I'm going to remove my raven form, so I end my wild shape.
Okay.
And then I'm going to pull out another vial, and you see me pull out this like long fang, white and immaculately ivory, and drop it in, and I drink it and turn into an oni.
Okay.
So now that I'm an oni, this massive creature, blue skin, red eyes, white hair, I kind of hide back in the shadows, and my skin begins to bubble and change as I turn into a guard as well. One of these elite guards I saw down on the wall.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I walk towards them, leaning out over this balcony, and I'm going to kind of startle them as I approach, say, "Oh, hey, what are you doing? Get back to work."
Bleeding hell! You don't want to sneak up on someone like that, especially at this height. What? And he suddenly realizes that you bear a chain of command much higher than he, and he sort of snaps to his attention, and his dull friend sort of follows suit and goes, "Oh, well, apologies, sir. And then you kind of see a look of, well, the opposite of recognition, not recognizing you at all, but sort of is going by the uniform at this point, not asking questions. This is a cowardly man, it seems.
Okay.
And he sort of waits to see what you're going to order him to do.
I approach them and kind of point out over the landscape. And it might surprise them, but I ask them, "What do you see? What are we doing here?"
Well, it's our job to guard the stairway. We ensure that we keep eyes on the wall, and we ensure that we keep eyes on the stairway. And he nods, and you turn and you see that there is actually a spiral staircase, the far end of the room that you're in currently, that is clearly the central staircase that would lead you up to the very top of the tower.
And I would reach out and I would like straighten his uniform, and then it would probably surprise him, and I'd lean forward and say, "When everything else is dust, we are but a whisper," and I throw him off the edge.
Okay. With an advantage, whatever method you'd like to use to do that, that's fine.
I'm just going to do athletics because Onis are super strong.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the case, yeah.
So that's a 20 total, not nat 20.
Okay, well, he opposes, but it's nothing compared to him, and he's lifted into the air slightly, buckles over the balcony edge, and soars down. His dull friend basically panics and basically goes to to reach out for you. But as you do, we are going to move to Damien, who has now drawn level with the second story window, and you see this guard plummet to a grisly end. You hear the snap as his neck connects with the hard stone at the bottom.
And do I see any windows near, or do I need to?
In fact, you are actually basically hanging onto the balcony that this second guy has his back against. So with a decent stealth roll, you'll be able to initiate a takedown if you wish.
Yeah, sure.
So a stealth roll, if you please.
No.
Again, 28.
My goodness. So in that case then, Matthew, tell me exactly how you take this guy out.
It would just be behind the guy and says, "Hey, over there," and he will just see me, a gesture on the balcony was what, and get slashed. I slashed the throat of the guard.
Yeah, he just turns, and that look of surprise is just frozen there as your blade just goes think, and he goes, and he sort of staggers forward. You have the opportunity to pull him over the railing, or you can just let him die in a pool of his own blood. Up to you.
I just remembered I was invisible, so in fact he didn't see me. But
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But it's awesome either way. So I go back to being visible, and I climb on the balcony and see that monster Oni, and not sure if it's in one of my allies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's this thuggish, terrifying beast with long hair and muscles bulging out everywhere. And as you sort of drink in this horrifying visage, we cut back to Cadwell, who has led the plague bird up to which? Were you going to the top one, did you say?
Yes.
So you've reached that door, and you just hear the steady jeering still going on from the penitentiary. Is it your intention to go straight through?
Yeah, most direct path.
Absolutely. So you go straight through, and you see that there is an instant change in the decor. No longer are you surrounded by black stone, slimy dungeon walls. You are now greeted with clear marble. There is red fine carpet that runs along a short corridor and to a staircase, at the foot of which stand two of these more elite guard, standing there, each with a halberd, and are basically just staring ahead. And they see you coming, but your disguise is as such that they don't really move. They sort of just look questioningly as you approach.
Yeah, I'll even reinforce it with just like, "Move it, prisoner!" and just kind of like push the plague bird head a little bit, as if not being gentle with him at all.
As you push him, something slips into your hand, actually, Caldwell. What the plague bird has done is he works alchemy very quickly. He has many things already prepared, just waiting to be triggered. He has infused something that he just gave you to. It's a small, very nondescript brass ring that you can easily slip onto your finger. Most people won't notice it. It is infused with an ability. And you know that the moment you touch it, once you use it, you can cast a spell, enlarge/reduce, on anyone that you want to, including yourself, as long as you wear that ring. You can cast it only once, and the ring will summarily turn to ash, or so you assume from what he's told you before. But to you as you push him forward, kind of just like fumbling, "I'm sorry, guard, I'm sorry." And he keeps kind of like limping forward.
So these guards are kind of taken aback by this prisoner's sort of behavior, and one of them sort of looks you up and down. The other one doesn't seem to be two-faced, but one of them seems to have a sharper eye than the other, and looks down and says, "You," and he looks directly at Cadwell, "disguised as you are. Aren't you supposed to be at the lock?" Didn't know you had authorization to be transporting prisoners up through the tower. And I will say, Cadwell, that such is your perception and such is your insight that you are able to tell that this man is a heavy drinker. You can tell by the fact that his fingers sort of fidget on the heart of his halberd. This is a man who has been frightened by many things in his life, someone who is uncertain of his position. You also see from the look of his uniform that he has been outside, probably when he shouldn't have been outside. You can see that his coin purse has been placed onto the right of his belt rather than left, suggesting that he's made a hurried transaction, perhaps paying someone off. All of this you absorb as you take 1 second look at him, and then you are there left to respond.
How am I supposed to know what Ashworth wants with him? He just told me to bring him up here. Look, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just doing my job. And he kind of leans closer. He goes, but, look, don't say anything. And he just kind of like opens his coat, and there's that silver flask. It's yours if you just let me by.
You see this guard take almost kind of like a shudder, as if like he has been yearning for the bitter taste of alcohol to pass his lips. And you can see shaking hands move down to his belt and then reach for the flask. And he takes a nervous glance over at his colleague, who has clearly been stationed with him a long time. That's your perception tick gets at as well. And you see that this guy is used to it and is clearly trained to turn a blind eye to this sort of thing. The guard shakingly puts alcohol to his lips, puts it down, closes the lid, and hands it back to you, and says with a nervous wink, "Probably shouldn't be caught with that on my person, so you keep it, but thank you. I misjudged you. Go ahead."
And he just tucks it away. All right, you heard him, prisoner. Move it.
Ooh! He makes that sound as he almost trips over the stairs and begins to just slowly limp his way up.
Perfect. So you find that you are going up these stairs, and then you see that there is a set of grand double doors, ornately carved, and you can see that the door is slightly ajar. Beyond the door, in the gap that you can see through, is a large oaken desk, and you can hear a very well-spoken individual in mid-conversation, and he says, "Oh, you would insult me? You would stand there and insult me and think that that would be enough for what I have on offer. What I have on offer can unseat entire kingdoms. Do not insult me further. Be gone, and I will wait for a better prize to come." And you can hear the huffled grumblings of two individuals. The two doors slam open in fury, and two rather well-dressed, aristocratic-looking individuals just stride by you, not even taking a second glance at you, and they disappear down into down a set of stairs that leads actually into a spiral down the tower rather than back into the penitentiary. And you see that with these two doors open wide, you see a vast office, what you can only assume to be a governor's office. We cut back to Jasher and Damien the comedian. You're on the second floor. There is one dead guard at your feet. There is another crumpled far beneath you. What would you like to do?
So almost imagine I'm reaching for the other one as he cuts his throat, and then I just kind of frown and look over at this comedian who's like looking at me, and I eye him and say, "I was going to question that one." And then I turn back into a guard and walk away, going up the tower staircase.
And Damien, are you following?
Yeah, I will follow. Yeah.
As you do so, you see that on the third floor, stationed at exactly the same place as there would have been, there was on the second floor, there are 2 guards. And they actually have their backs to you. They are actually doing their job guarding halfway between the stairs and the balcony to keep a clear view of the wall. Their backs are to you.
I feel like this time, just to cut the theatrics, because it didn't work out last time, like I took too much time, so the other one died, I just walk up and just shove one off and then grab the other one by the throat.
Okay. With advantage, athletics.
That's a 23.
Yeah, so you just hear one of them and he goes, "Ah!" Does a Wilhelm scream as he disappears into the darkness, and the other one turns around in horror and sees this monstrous creature is upon him. You know what? I'm just going to say that you can grab him. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I just grab him by the throat, lift him in the air, and hold him out over the balcony.
Oh,
And
okay.
ask him some questions.
And he's like, anything. What do you want?
He doesn't need to speak. I can probe his mind. And Damien is slowly walking to his friend.
I say, oh, he'll speak first, and if he's lying, then we'll know.
Sure.
The man is
And I look at
spluttering in fear. Go ahead.
And I look at him, and the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my face to one of the guards that was on the floor below. And I'm going to speak in his voice, this monstrous body with that guard's face, and say, "Where's the jailer?"
The jailer? He's in the sanctum. The sanctum far beneath here. Why would you need to go to the jailer? And you can see that his breath is giving out.
And then I look at him and I say, "And what was held in the sanctum?"
The prisoners of the most importance. The governor would want to guard the best. Who would have any contact with us, please?
I would kind of loosen and instead hold him by the chest, because my hand closes around his chest.
Okay, yeah. So you sort of like lift him up, grab him by the chest, and they're like, "Ugh," and he's like, sort of takes a huge intake of breath. You're still holding him above with your vast strength, and says, "Please, it's anything. Please, just don't hurt me. Don't hurt me."
And I look at him, and why would you deserve mercy?
I have a family. I have a family. Please do an insight check.
Okay, well, 14.
He's scared.
Yeah.
He's scared, and it looks like he might just be saying anything. You don't know. Maybe.
I lean in and whisper, and I'm sure just my breath is foul, and I say, "My friend will check your mind to see if what you say is true. And if you lied about your family, well, worse things are going to happen than falling. Let's just put it that way."
And his eyes snap to Damien.
Let's see what you hide in your filthy mind. And he will cast Detect Thoughts, so we'll get the surface thoughts of the guards, so maybe he doesn't want to die. But if any important information is going through his mind, I will get it. But I will probe anyway, whatever happens. I will go deeper.
I'm going to say any roll he has to make will automatically fail. He essentially, his surface thoughts are absolutely correct. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Say anything. Say anything. He's lying about the fact that he has a family. He doesn't have a family, but he does want to live, so he's likely to say anything. But then you pick up trace elements of something else, something deeper, something that even this man probably didn't want to face ever again in his life. You see a dark room lit by red fires that lick beneath the floor of this place, and you see hanging chains from the ceiling with blood leaking from them, and there is a scream, and then you snap back.
Well, I think that was the jailer. Yes, and yeah, I can try again, my friend, but I think I had an image of the jailer. It doesn't seem too friendly. Do what you want with him. I don't really care. He doesn't even have a family. No child.
I slowly turn and look at him.
No, wait,
Sorry,
please.
go ahead.
It's like, please, just let me go. I won't tell anyone you're here. In fact, I didn't even see you. I didn't even see you. Please, just don't hurt me.
I just lean forward and I say, I once had a family, and they were killed by authority like you. So when you lie about having one, you hit a sore spot. And I reach and I place my black nails, one into each side of his chest, the rib cage and the sternum, and I just start to pull.
And his screams reach fever pitch until his body gives out and he is torn asunder, collapsing into a pool of guts and blood.
And I say, you ask for mercy when you lie, so I give you justice. And I toss the pieces off into oblivion.
And they just collapse off the side. And
That's messy.
will you be continuing up the stairs?
Well, now that we know the sanctum's below, I don't think so. I'm going to turn back into a guard, so I look like a guard again, and then just walk back towards the stairs, start heading down.
Okay.
And I say, we know where our prisoner is.
And with that, we cut back to the governor's office and sat in a winged back chair. This governor with a long hooked nose, bald apart from wisps of greyish matted hair, in a untidy uniform of the tribunal. And he looks at you and he says, What are you doing here? Why have you brought me this thing? And he looks upon the visage of the plague bird with distaste.
So yeah, the portly guard, as he's making these comments and the two individuals left, he closes the door, the double doors, and twists the lock with an audible click as the prisoner comes towards the center of the room. And he turns back around and goes, "You," and he acting kind of intimidated by the governor. You sent for him, Governor. I've brought him like you asked."
He looks around and says, "Like I asked? I did not ask any such thing. Do you understand what tonight means for me? Do you understand how important it is that I am given privacy? And you, incompetent, blundering, staggering here with this animal, this wretch, and you expect me to award you my time? I will not have it. I will not have it." And as his voice is echoing in your ears, Cadwell, once again, the keenest, most perceptive mind, arguably, in the Nine Kingdoms, you spot hastily written notes, desperate scrawling. You understand that this is a man who has been writing letters to try and buy himself time. This is a man who understands he has disobeyed a direct order. He is essentially committing mutiny here. He is a traitor. He has disobeyed an order and he is trying to profit from information that solely belongs to the reign of the God King. This is a scared man. And this is a man who, despite this fear, his greed is driving him. But also a fear that he himself is unaware of the secret he is trying to sell. And with that, we are going to take a very short break and do some really quick introductions. Hello, my name is Rob. You are on the channel Performance Check. Thank you for watching so far. This is Chronicles of the Nine Kingdoms, Shadow and the Lockdown. A game all about the Court of Whispers, and my goodness me, I could not have chosen better players to represent them. They are doing an absolutely incredible job. So starting with Alan, give us your intro, man, and say hi and plug anything you would like.
Sure thing. Thanks. My name's Alan, and you can catch me on the channel Check for Traps. I've ran several games there, so check that out. Really enjoying the game, Rob. Love it. Love the lore keepers, and looking to continue the rest of the game.
Excellent. Tyler.
I'm Tyler Hurst on a roll. It's ROLE, like roleplay. I'm playing Jasher Skull. I'm absolutely loving this character. It's super fun. I'm loving the game. Super interesting to explore this person's backstory. And yeah, I run lots of games on my channel. I just barely started a new video roleplay game tips for people who are starting off in the game. And yeah, I'm just super happy to play with these great players. So.
Fantastic, and super happy to have you, man. Matthew.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I have playing Damien the comedian, jester bard. I think lots of fun with it, and Rob's really good. I love my character. Yeah, like I said, I have the channel Marpos. Then I had one game. I'm planning to do another one maybe in the next month. So stay tuned, and you go. It's your turn, Marquise.
Yes, Marquise, off you go.
Control D, new power. Okay, anyway, sorry. I'm Marquise Hardis, sensible strider, point of inspiration. Check me out on all those avenues. I am playing Epiderm Messai. He is the Plague Bird, and if you're not afraid of him yet, you will be when we come back.
Ooh, ominous. Right, I understand that we, I learnt just before that we were about to start the game that we are on a bit of a time schedule here. So, first of all, do we know how long we've been going? Because I've just sort of been in it and I don't know how long we've been going. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, see, there's still a bit to go. So, like, how do you guys want to do it? One thing, I don't want to rush it, but at the same time, it's entirely up to you guys. Like, how long do we have individually?
Probably another 45 minutes for me, but I have an exit scene for the Plague Bird that I can do very easily as long as this next scene does not end with him being horrifically killed.
Okay, that's fine. The rest of you, how are you? Because Tyler, I know that you said that you have to run at a certain stage as well.
I can do another like hour and a half.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. For
Alan, you're fine. Matthew, you're okay?
I'm exhausted, but I can continue.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll make sure it won't go too long. Obviously, I've got to make that time constraint. So what I will say, just for my benefit, if we take like a really, really quick break, so like 3-4 minutes, and we'll get back into it. So off you go, guys. And just quickly to those watching, thank you ever so much for joining us. Afterwards, if there's any questions, anything you want to tell me in the chat or whatever, then I will hang around for a bit to chat to you guys, because I really appreciate you coming to watch, and we will be back shortly to see how this ends. I just muted myself halfway through speaking. That was embarrassing. I am back. Hello. Just going to have a really quick look into chat to see who has joined us.
There's a lot of people watching.
Yeah, I've seen like it's been fluctuating a little bit. I've seen that we've had quite a few people watching throughout the duration, which has been really nice. Really appreciate you guys dropping by. I mean, to be fair, with what you guys are pulling out, like the people who are watching this, I think are getting impressed by your guys' ideas. I think it's really cool, really imaginative use of all of your skills, which has been awesome. I think people are very enamored with the plague bird marquise.
I'm glad they are, because I'm going to be pestering you to make a cameo in Lore Keepers in some future session as the plague bird. But regardless, I sent to you in PMs just now, as you can see, the idea for the exit scene, as long as nothing goes horribly wrong, which it might in the upcoming scene.
Maybe, who knows? Let me just read that very quickly before we begin. Perfect. Okay. Okay. So are we ready to continue then? Perfect. So let's get back into it. And thank you very much for your patience for those who are watching. Ashworth, fearful, greedy, is staring at you, Cadwell, and at the plague bird, who is obviously still disguised as well, and he is waiting for an explanation.
This portly guard, like, slowly approaches the oaken desk, and he goes, "Forgive me, Governor." And he like goes to grab his little cap, and as he pulls it down, the vision dissipates as Cadwell stands before him. "But you've been a very naughty boy." And he just reaches into his coat, and he just gently tosses this cloth bag that just kind of goes through the air, and as it hits the oaken desk, this purple plume of just mist smoke just around him. As Cadwell just kind of takes his cravat and just kind of holds it over his mouth like this for a moment.
Now, before he does the roll for that, is it possible? Is inspiration just for advantage, or can I use it to give disadvantage as well, or no?
Do you mean disadvantage to Alan's turn?
This is spend my inspiration. No, the disadvantage on the on Ashworth for his saving throw. If not, that's fine. I'll just ask.
No, I don't think you can. I think you can give. It depends, because no, I don't think you can do it. Like, I don't think
you have to have the lucky feat to do that.
Gotcha. All right, that's fine. So anyway, the poison is a DC 15 con save. On a failure, he falls asleep or he falls unconscious for 8 hours unless damaged or shaken awake as an action.
Perfect. Okay, well, he is going to try and make the con save. This is a blubbering, overweight aristocrat who has seen better days, so he might not make it. Let's see. So, Cadwell, you're looking, and the plague bird, I think, maybe just sort of like looks away to sort of cover your face as this this plume of gaseous substance sort of wafts into the room. And Cadwell sort of staggers back, and you can see he's holding his breath, but then his lungs give away, and he deeps a deep breath in as this noxious fume overtakes him, and you see his eyes roll back, and he sort of starts staggering back and then collapses back into his winged chair, which then sort of topples backwards. And as this gaseous form sort of dissipates, you see you've expertly taken this guy out like that. He's asleep like a baby.
Caldwell. And as you hear that voice, Mr. Caldwell, if you turn around, you see the plague bird standing there in his normal form, the mask back, his black trench coat back around him, the manacles somehow gone, as if they've been sucked into the actual body of the suit. He walks past you, Mr. Caldwell, and he says, "This is how the rest of this will progress. I'm going to kill Mr. Ashworth, and I'm going to set up our escape route from this room." When he says that, he turns to you and he says, "This Mr. Caldwell, will be interesting for you to watch. And as he says that, you see these two massive wings spread from the plague bird's back. And threading throughout these wings are these tubes pumping this green, viscous fluid throughout this thing. And you hear the screech of an eagle that bounces off the walls, but fails to go outside the actual room. And you see emerging from his chest, the face of a massive, super giant eagle. Its eyes replaced by these chrome orbs, these pumps pumping through its beak and its head. And it emerges, rising from his back, emerging from his chest and his shoulder blades to it towers over both of us. And you see the tubes and the mechanized bits, its bronze and brass talons, this huge pump on its back, which continuously just pumps like a heartbeat does, just this fluid through its entire body. This will be our escape vehicle. You will leave, and you will assist the other two in the extraction of the prisoner. I will handle this one. And when he says that, he takes out this pouch from his chest and he puts it down. And as he undoes it, you see a stopwatch and a set of basically alchemical tools. There is a poison called Midnight's Mayhem. I will make it, and I will give it to Mr. Ashford while he sleeps. When this stopwatch hits 12 a.m., the hour of the witch, his heart will cease to beat. There will be no possible ways to trace the murder. It would be impossible to tell what's killed him without the aid of magic, and since he is now asleep, even those who can perform necromancy cannot ask him how he died. I will brew this poison here. My pet will stand guard, and you will go ensure the mission is complete, and when it is, you will return, Mr. Caldwell, and with my pet, we shall fly to the ruins with these notes, and we shall meet the spy master and our contact. Do you agree with this plan, Mr. Caldwell?
During the time that the Plague Bird was explaining the mission or the plan, Cadwell is examining all the different documents that are on the desk, and he's got a photogenic memory there. So he's all these different names and everything else on these letters. He's just recording them in his mind, putting them away in his mind palace for later. As he gathers his thoughts and comes back to what the Plague Bird is telling him, he says, "Agreed." And he's like, And he takes that cap again, and he just puts it on, and as he does, he takes the visage of the governor.
Perfect. Now, Mr. Caldwell, I do have a gift for you and our comrades. And he reaches again, and this time he seems to pull off his cloak. It's as if he's taking off a second skin. There's another cloak underneath it. But he hands you this Vanta black light-absorbing cloak. Put this on, and of course, disguise it. When needed, reach inside of it. You will find an array of poisons, of healing potions, and of magical items infused with spells to assist you and the others on your journey. It is everything I have brewed for this. Please make sure you do not lose this coat, Mr. Caldwell. They are very difficult to recreate. And what I'm giving you is, I'm about to just read you off the character sheet real quick. All right, so the relevant poisons that you have, okay, you have 2 vials of basic poison, and I'll put all the stats and everything into the side chat. You have 3 things of drow poison. You have 2 things of poison called malice, and you have 1 more sleep powder. And at your discretion, you also have a rowboat, 3 iron doors, 2 windows, 2 mastiffs, 2 wooden ladders, 2 daggers, 2 lanterns, and 2 steel mirrors, and 2 sacks, as you would like to use, if you would like to use these things. And the magical items he's giving you, I'm using infused magic. Basically, you have 1 ring of invisibility, you have 1 ring of disguise self, 1 ring of shield of faith, and 1 ring of sanctuary that you can all use. Oh, you can get, each one has one charge, if that makes sense. And again, I'm going to copy and paste all this into the side chat. But he gives you basically a bag of holding that has all the stuff in it, which is a cloak. And he finishes off saying, I expect to see you here by the time that this watch reaches midnight. You're muted.
You muted, man.
Yep. So, Cadwell takes a glance at your stopwatch, and with his keen mind, without needing a watch, he can tell exactly how much time is left before that hour.
And I will state that is just under half an hour. And we are going to... No, before we cut away, there is one element that I would like to describe to Cadwell. As you said, you were looking through all these documents and these scrawlings and these diagrams and different summaries of transactions and prisoners brought in and out. You notice something. You notice that there are a number of names of individuals who have recently been removed from Carock. And with a photographic memory and with an awful lot of information in that mind palace of yours, you recognize a good deal of them. You know Freedom Salvation. You know it well. For good many months, maybe even over a year, Freedom Salvation and other major settlements in Far White have been plagued by an organization known as Advent. And this organization is becoming rapidly more dangerous as every day passes. Each of the individuals who have been released from Carock belong to this organization. And as you are taking in this information, we cut now deep into the belly of Carock. Damien the comedian and Jasher, you have descended deep down this spiral staircase, and you now know with all certainty that you have descended into the sub-levels of this formidable prison. You reach this iron door, which is bolted on the outside by many different types of locks, all locks that you would be able to open from the side that you're on, but would make it nearly impossible to escape from the other way. With little effort, you're able to open them and continue. But you notice something. You notice that as you descend, that the architecture is changed significantly. You see that this is no longer a structure that was built in the glory of the Nine Kingdoms. This is something that was built longer ago. And you are beginning to see carvings and murals scratched into the walls, rudimentary drawings as you descend into a particularly hostile-looking chamber. You see that these pictures denote a sanctum deep within this rocky cliff face beside the sea. And you see pictures of individuals with swords, shields, powerful magic emanating from their hands, and an open book hovering above these people with lines of light etched in. And on the other side of the mirror, you see what these graphic representations of these individuals are facing. A darkness, an ancient evil, sealed away in the sanctum. It is as you are taking all of this in that you now realize, or Damien realizes, that this particular area is familiar. The floor is almost like a grate, And as you're standing on it, you see red flames flickering beneath you. Chains dripping with half-cauterized blood drips down upon you. What is it you would like to do?
I'm gonna make sure that Jasher is with me. Is she there?
Yeah, I'd be standing right.
She ran away.
Yeah, I booked it the moment I saw the dripping blood and the cauterized bodies. But I do send my raven, and it kind of like flies in the area where I like searching for them. And I'm assuming it finds them with the door open, Ashmore on the ground, and it just looks at them and it says, like, go down. Go, okay, so it just says go down, go down.
And Damien would just finish your sentence and go down and try to not get killed. And he will stop midway. And in fact, in saying that, I'm using bardic inspiration on you. So you have 1d8 that you can use on saving throws, ability checks, and I think that's pretty much it. So for the next 10 minutes.
Did you say a D8 or a D6?
D8.
Okay, cool.
Excellent. Yeah, because that increases as the bard progresses.
Yeah, I would take point and I'd walk forward though.
And attack rolls.
Yeah.
Okay. So
You, as another detail I will add as well in this sanctum, that you now are beginning to understand was here long before there was a prison above it. You see that there are 6 wrought iron cages at the far end of this room. And you see desiccated individuals slumped, groaning, some of them utterly silent. And the one closest to you is mumbling in an almost sing-song-like fashion. The jailer wants to keep you. He binds you and hurts you and eats you. He plagues your soul and it's your eyes. Your eyes. And as the word eyes escapes the lips of this horrifying looking individual who looks like he's been here for years, there is something that just snaps around him and drags him into the darkness and disappears. And an echoing voice resounds around the chamber. And it simply says, "What has brought you to my domain?"
What do I see?
You don't see anything.
Did I perhaps see anything that grabbed the guy?
Perception check.
Okay. Oh, probably not. I don't think a 9 sees anything.
And Damien, if you'd like to make a perception check too.
5. I don't see anything.
Okay. That does then mean also that both of you fail to see what is approaching from behind you. You are masters of stealth, but 2 snake-like chains sweep out of the darkness and envelop both of you, flinging you into the air. As you are both flung back, a shadowy individual steps from the darkness, there is a burst of flames and metal wheeling around this being, entirely made of shadow and chain. You can see two glowing red eyes. And he repeats, "What brings you to my domain?"
Well, I guess we try. Well, let me think. Well, do I know anything about chain devils?
That is going to have to be a knowledge of either Arcana or history, I'd say.
I think I'm better in I think I'm better in history. Yeah, let's do history. Okay. 18.
It suddenly dawns on you that, mixed with the information that you receive from the mural on the walls as well, that this is an individual that has been sealed away by the lawkeepers of old. An individual that is known fully to take pleasure in enveloping and keeping people within its bonds, slowly feasting upon their souls over hundreds and hundreds of years. There have been rumors of such a thing, but never confirmed. And it was the last place perhaps you could have thought of for a chain devil to be in. Probably the first place being a prison as well. It seems to snap to your mind as well. However, it is much too late. And he is clearly getting furious at the fact that you are not answering his question. And so, if you are refusing to say anything, you leave me little choice. I give you one last chance. As he stares into your eyes, you see nothing but flame and metal whirling around this room.
Damien would just say, "Riddle me this," and he points his stick at the creature, and he's preparing to cast a spell. So,
And
I'm
as
not
Damien,
answering me. Yeah, go ahead.
and as you sort of reach us into initiate combat, we cut back upstairs.
Of course he does that.
As a bird has given warning to descend, Cadwell and the plague bird. Now the plague bird has designs of his own, so it's entirely up to you what happens from here.
Me or Caldwell?
Both of you. I mean, I know, Marquise, that you've laid the groundwork for your own plan to sort of for the extraction or whatever. So it's up to you.
All right. So basically what I imagine the ending is when Caldwell leaves, the Plaguebird would begin working on his alchemic form, the creation of Midnight Mayhem. You would see him pulling out these random vile ingredients. You see eyes, you see fetuses that may be human, maybe elf, maybe something else entirely. He takes a feather from his giant eagle that looms over him. He takes a little bit of the liquid from it as well. And then he begins, you hear the bird chirping from his mask as fluid just drops into vial after vial after vial. And it continues working. And imagine he turns at one point and he says, "Mr. Caldwell, you will want to leave sooner rather than later. This process will not be pretty, or as you say, it would be very crude very soon. And I will have the papers here as well."
I suppose that is my cue. And he goes, he looks over the governor really quick to find, I suppose, a key to this office, this study of his. And he takes it and just kind of, puts it away. And as he leaves, he walks out double doors. And as he's coming down the stairs, he says to the guards, "Out of my way, you fools!" And he walks past them, and then he stops for a second, and he just turns and goes, "Do not enter my chambers, no matter what you hear. Do not let anybody in except for me."
The guards snap to attention and go, "Sir."
And with that, Cadwell begins to make his way, descending down into the lower depths of this prison.
And as you do so, I ask, anyone who's going to be involved in this combat, so obviously later on Cadwell as well, I ask you all, gentlemen, roll initiative.
I just want to say, not to break the mood, but I think it's personally hilarious that Caldwell is walking down there, which is like a huge armory in his cloak. There's like all these random items, all these poisons and magical rings and shit just to bring down there. Like, what's up, guys?
Yeah, that'd be a nat 1.
Oops.
Yeah, Marquise, I imagine your character is like pretty much every video game character where you just carry all this stuff, but you have no backpack, nothing.
Exactly.
You're like, I can hold exactly 299 pounds of stuff. One more
His
pound
trench coat is a bag of holding. So I'm like, yo, dude, this is hammer space. Everything in the game is going in here.
Amazing. Okay, so I've got Damien as 22. I've got Cadwell as 19. And sorry, you said you got a nat 1, didn't you? Okay, so Damien, you are able to act first. You see this chain devil, and you can see, like wings, these 4 chains are sprouting from behind its back and start whirling around the room at breakneck speed. But you get to act first.
Do I see him? Is he? Where is he?
Yeah, so you do see him. He has sort of unveiled himself, this basically just shadow chains and the flame of his eyes. But yeah, you can, for all intents and purposes, see him.
Okay, he's near enough that I can go to him. So in one move, can I? Yeah.
Yeah, you can reach him, absolutely, and you can do what you like.
Okay, well, that's what I want to do. What Damien is gonna quickly step toward the monster and touch him just with a poke and say, "Psst, it's a riddle for you. What comes down but never goes up?" And he switches his staff and then casting bestow curse on him. So you will have to roll a wisdom saving throw for that monster.
Okay, he will. And what's he got to make?
Wisdom saving throw DC 15.
He passes.
So okay, he makes it. Okay.
He does.
Okay, in that case, as a bonus action, if I still have some movement left, in fact, I have. I'm just gonna do bonus action, and I'm gonna disengage a bit further from the monster, and saying, "Oh crap! He didn't understand the joke."
And as you make your attempt, and then suddenly retreat, this chain devil sneers at you and says, "Your words have no power here, Jester." And lashing chains wreathe towards both Damien and Jasher. Okay, 2 hit Jasher, 1 hits Damien. So that is 26 points of slashing damage to Jasher, and you are automatically grappled and lifted into the air. Damien, that is 12 points of damage. You are also automatically grappled and flung to the other side of the chamber, still grappled, and you are being pressed against the bars of one of these cages. Cadwell is quickly, hastily moving his way down the stairs. At the beginning of the next round, I would say you will be able to become involved in this combat. It is now Jasher, and you have been flung into the air, grappled by this chain that is basically trying to strangle the life out of you. You look down and see the flames beneath this grate that this chain devil is now standing upon, and those eyes are boring into yours. What do you do?
So I imagine these chains wrap around this huge, massive Oni body of mine, and I kind of just smile and shake my head and say, benefits of being able to change, and my body shrinks. And so I'm able to become from a large to a small or medium-sized creature, so I become a Kenku. And I just, if it's all right with you, I just fall out of these chains.
That's genius, so yes.
So as I fall out of these chains and I'm kind of rotating in the air, I turn back into a huge Oni, and I say, hold me if you can. And I rush towards him. And as I'm rushing, one of the Oni's abilities is every generation. So these rips and tears in my skin, you just watch them seal, and the blood stops trickling. And as I rush towards this creature, I raise my claws, and I'm going to attack it twice.
Perfect.
Actually, never mind. I'm going to grapple him. So even if he does wrap me in chains, he can't pull me away. So I'll spend my action to make a grapple check.
Very well. Opposed.
So that's strength for strength, yeah.
Yep,
or he can use his dexterity, I believe.
Okay.
So I got a 19 total.
He gets a 27. So you basically throw your full weight to try and grab hold of this chain devil, and you have your muscular arms swiping down at him, and you notice two chains just wrap around your forearms and just lift you into the air and hurl you back. You are not grappled, you just slam into a cage in the back. You won't take any damage though, that's fine, because he just tossed you away from the grapple.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we're back to the top of the round, and Damien, you are wreathed in these chains that is going to strangle the life out of you. You are starting your turn grapple, which unfortunately means you take an extra 10 points of damage as these chains have spikes in them, and it's starting to dig into you, and you feel the life being drained from you. To do anything, you need to escape from the chains first.
Yeah, I will try to do an acrobatics checks to get free of that.
You certainly can, or you can try.
Yeah, I will. 19.
Excellent. I would like you to tell me, first of all, how you escape the clutches of this strangling chain.
Yeah, so stuck between the cage and with the chain, I just wriggle a bit and try to character laugh even in that situation. He says, "Oh, I'm in trouble right now," and just wriggling and doing the best thing. I'm get free of the chains and say, "Okay, okay, he's serious. Me too." And I'm just after saying that, I just cast the spell Healing Word on myself as a 4th level spell. To heal myself as a bonus action.
Fantastic. Good job.
So I'm gonna roll in, put it in the chat how much I heal, so we can quickly advance.
That's cool. Okay, so yeah, you feel this healing power come across you, and you feel a slight flicker of hope in your chest and in your morale as you face off against this devil once again. It is now its turn, and you notice that these 4 chains whirling about this creature basically ripple down at you once again. 2 going for Jasher, 2 going for Damien the comedian. Oh. There we go. I would like, first of all, Jasher, I would like you to tell me how you dexterously or skillfully dodge both of the chains that launch your way.
I'd honestly say I don't dodge them. I'd say they wrap around me, and I just kind of like pull down and break them at a weak link.
Okay. So these basically they're shattered and they come off you, and then you see them sort of reel back as if they were a snake hit with a blazing torch. But you see that these are still chains that are going to be able to do an awful lot of damage to you. And also, Damien, how do you dodge or defend against these as they swipe at you?
Just doing some cartwheels and steps and some jumps. And as I'm doing that, I say, "What? Riddle me this. What has a foot but no legs? A snail. That's you!" And I'm just dodging.
And you can hear from the chain devil. Obviously, anger is a powerful ally of his. And it is at that point that the door slams open, and there, silhouetted by the light, is Cadwell. What would you like to do as you drink in the scene of this terrifying creature bearing down on your comrades?
Well, there in the doorway is actually Governor Ashworth. And he says, "What are you doing?" to the jailer.
The jailer freezes and he looks towards you. Now, with disguise self, he needs to make an investigation check, I believe, which he is going to do so. I don't know what the DC is for yours, though. Do you know the DC?
Yeah, it would be based off of the Plague Bird, which is DC 16 when he created it.
Perfect. Okay. The chain devil, the jailer, stops and, drawing himself up, these chains sort of climbing up his body of shadow and swirling around him, peacocking almost, bears down upon you, and he says, "I am doing the good work. Why do you come here, old man?"
You know I do not care if you toy with your toys. Break them if you will. But where is Micah?
Ah, yes. The Marshal. He is where I placed him. Do not forget your place, old man. I will do my bidding as you do yours.
Indeed. But I need him. I need him now. The time has come.
As your perception is as keen as ever and your heart is beating in your chest, you might not have ever come across such a creature in your life. This is something that is not common in the slightest. But even then, the adrenaline is kicking in and your perception is going into overtime. And you note the 6 cages. You are able to almost zoom in. Your perception is that keen. And you see at the far end of this chamber is a man who doesn't look that he's been there as long as the others. He doesn't look to be withered by time and starvation. This man, you can see, has a stronger right arm, a keen swordsman. You are also able to note a number of battle scars on his face, not received within recent days, therefore meaning he must have received them in the battles gone by. Therefore, narrowing it down to him being the most likely suspect of being a marshal. Trying to Sherlock off the top of my head here. But there we go. He's at the far end, and this chain demon is now leering. The combat has basically come to like a halt, as clearly this chain devil has some kind of symbiotic relationship with the prison working upstairs, delivering souls to him as he is trapped down here.
And I have it in my notes, but Cadwell being able to retain pretty much anything that he's ever seen or heard. The goal was to dispatch the marshal, correct?
Correct.
So he looks and says, "The time is now, my old friend. Take Micah's soul and release those other two. I have other things to attend to now."
You give me orders where you have no place, Governor. And the chain demon wraps the chains back in on himself, and the image changes. Shadow is replaced with flame. Chains form and shift, magically transforming into the image of a family that died in a fire long ago. Does Cadwell react to this in any way?
Yes, Cadwell will, in that moment, his hand like just instantly goes to his face where he's been marred by those flames. And he kind of just hunches down as if kneeling under the bare weight of the scene before him, taking a knee. And as he does, he just kind of opens the cloak that the plague bird gave him. And as he does, it opens wide, and these two mastiffs come running out on either side of him.
Perfect.
As they bark with their massive jaws. They charge at the jailer.
Perfect, and we're back into initiative in that case. I will, just for time's sake, I'll just put the mastiffs at the bottom of the initiative if you don't mind, but that's fine, because that isn't too far off. Jasher, it is your turn. However, when this chain devil transformed, you saw something different. You saw lost kin of your own, and the sight of it brings a hollow feeling to you and to Damien, whatever Damien would consider to be close to him in ruins. The crying of children at court, no longer amused, no longer joyful at his tumbles and his weak jokes. Jasher, how do you act?
So maybe I need some clarification. Are we supposed to be killing the marshal or bringing him back?
You were told to dispatch the marshal.
Okay, cool. So in that case, I would just look at this scene. Like it's playing over and over and over in my head. Like the thug coming out of the alleyway, my father kind of like letting him go after disarming him, and then him running, but then coming back, and my father and mother dead on the ground before me. And then a constable approaching this law keeper and looking at the man and looking at me. And this thug was just another constable, and he covers for the thug instead of for me. Thus the hate for authority. And I look at this scene as it plays out, and I change back into Jasher as I'm staring at this. And I say, "You showed me something you shouldn't have, jailer." And I reach into my cloak and pull out another vial, and I swallow it. And the body becomes black and reptilian, stretching out across the floor. Wings sprout from my back, and an ethereal roar, bestial, screams from my throat. And I stare at the jailer, and I say, "You may be an ancient entity, but I can become one as well." And that's my action, is to polymorph again.
And just to clarify, you have polymorphed into a dragon?
Yeah, young black dragon.
Okay. The rest of you see Jasher morph and change into this reptilian beast, the likes of which, to your mind, have disappeared a long time ago, as he transforms. It is at this point that the noble mastiffs charge at the chain demon and leap. Did Marquise leave you the stats for them at all?
I have them pulled up, yeah.
Excellent. So if you wouldn't mind acting on the mastiff's behalf.
Sure thing.
That's so funny.
All right, so let's see here. Bite plus 3, 7, 8. So that's a 20 to attack.
Connects.
Okay. And all right, so 7 from one of them and then 5 from another. It's piercing damage.
Okay.
And it says if the target is a creature, it must succeed, which I'm sure it'll get this, but on a DC 11 strength saving throw or be knocked prone.
Okay. Let's see, shall we? He's absolutely fine. And as these mastiffs, these strange doom-bringing mastiffs, these almost, I like to think that they're magical, so they're kind of almost shadowy kind of dogs, sort of leaping forth. They latch onto the chain demon, and it doesn't seem entirely bothered by them at all, as if they are insects to him. Their attacks seemingly he is resistant to. And as they are biting into him, he just sends forth these chains that ripple like waves, sending the mastiffs howling back. With that, we are back to the top of the round. Damien, you are staring down at this chain demon that has made a mockery of your past and is making a mockery of your friends. How do you return it in kind?
Damien is gonna protect himself. He doesn't want to get it, so he says, I heard in the streets that laughing is the best medicine. Ha 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 ha! And he casts protection from evil and good, and targeting fiends. He will have disadvantage to attack me. So I imagine it's like some discordant notes around me to prevent attacks, and I'm aiming toward Silas, and I say, "Laugh, you too!" And I use bardic inspiration on him, and I think you know what it does.
Perfect. Yes, and your joyfulness in the face of pure evil and destruction does not go unnoticed. A chain is going to swing forth at each of you. So first of all, at Silas. Connects. Doing. That's 12 points of damage. Slashing damage. Jasher. Connects. Doing. 18 points of damage. And
by the way, keep in mind my AC is now 18 as young black dragon.
That's okay, because I got more than that. But yes, thank you very much for reminding me of that. Okay. And this is for Damien. Misses, because he rolls at disadvantage. Damien, would you like to describe how you dodge out of the way of this chain?
Yeah, the chains are coming at Damien at the same pattern as before, and can ascertain how they will react, and protection around him. This discordant noise is kind of that reflecting the chain, and I step out of the way.
Perfect. And as his attack against you misses, the chain slashes against Cadwell and sends you staggering back a little bit. And this other chain wraps around the dragon. Both of you two are automatically grappled, and will require you to break out of it at the beginning of your turns. So with that, it is now Cadwell, if you would like to make that attempt.
Sure thing. So yeah, with his attack, I'll use my reaction to use my uncanny dodge, which basically just halves the damage from that chain. So even though I'm hit, it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Okay, perfect.
And so yeah, so Cadwell he's like push. He like momentarily goes into his mind palace and he pushes the memory of his family down deep, locking it into the vault, sealing those emotions away. And he comes back and he goes, now, how do I defeat him? And with that, he just starts taking in the room and the devil to the point to where he's going to try to discern what is the best way to defeat this monster. I'm going to use my eye for detail, which is allows me to use basically a insightful fighting, which I'm going to make a wisdom insight check against his charisma deception check.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll make that roll now. Okay.
All right. So I got a 22.
And you know what? This chain devil is an open book to you right now. Such is his rage. He is letting all of his tell show. So what exactly can I reward you with that then? Is it basically mechanically what he's weak to, or is it just things that will help you?
It'll basically give me sneak attack against him pretty much for a whole minute.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's even better than one. That's perfect. Okay, but I'm going to say this as well. You do also note something else. Obviously, you weren't there, but all of these prisoners that are in these cages appear to be sort of linked into part of these chains as well. You see, it's almost like this creature has gotten used to drinking the power of souls from those he likes to keep. Bear that in mind, perhaps. Is there anything else you can do with your turn, Cadwell?
Yes, that was my bonus. So with that information, he goes, I can hurt you too. And he, with his cane, he twists and pulls out his rapier. And with that, he goes to one of these prisoners and very quickly just stabs right into the neck part, pulls out quickly with a quick spurt of blood as that prisoner will quickly begin to die. One of his keepsakes.
As that prisoner is basically incapacitated, I would like you, and this is important and you'll see why, I would like you to roll your critical damage, please.
All right, so that's that'll be 32 piercing.
Excellent. And as you do this, your blade sinks into the shoulder of this prisoner, releasing him from what seems to have been a lifetime of anguish and torture. And as you do, the chain devil gives a shriek, as if wounded himself, and whirls about like in fury at you. And you can see that these chains are writhing as if a snake has been struck with the flames. And as your turn concludes, we now move to Jasher the Black Dragon.
Okay, so you want me to make a roll to try and break the chains?
Oh, yes, please, yeah.
Yeah, nat 20. So
Perfect.
So the chain just snap as like these giant reptilian arms just flex. And I kind of just turn and look at him, and I heard this scream of pain from killing one of the prisoners. But Jasher wants to make this slow. Like, just dredging up those memories was a lot for her. So she screeches and roars and runs across this ground towards this devil. I'm going to make a bite attack and 2 claw attacks.
Perfect.
Oh, no lie. I got a nat 20 again.
Perfect.
So do you do just roll, take full damage on the first one and then roll again?
So with criticals, I probably should have explained when Alan was doing his roll. So with that, I just say roll your dice twice, essentially.
Okay.
So yeah, roll your dice twice, add your modifiers, boom, you got yourself critical. That's what he did. Yeah, there we go. That's all good.
Okay, 38 for the bite.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh goodness.
And then for the claw, the first claw, that's a 18.
Just connects.
Just barely hits. Okay, so that is 2d6 plus 4. And that'll be 9. And then my next claw also. And I'm actually going to use my Bardic Inspiration with that. That was fairly low.
Uh-huh.
Okay, 18 again.
Yeah.
Okay, so 10 plus 4 plus 4, 2d6. And that's another 13.
Oh my goodness me. Woo-hoo. So would you like to tell me how Jasher the Black Dragon just smashes into this chain devil with the ferocity of a dragon?
Yeah, so you see just this when large lizards hunt, like they stalk forward and they just snap forward with their mouths. And what it does is it snaps down across him from the shoulder to his back, all the way down along his chest. And as I grab him, I pull him forward towards me and just claws. One grabs onto his back and rakes across, and the other one grabs onto his side and rakes down, just breaking chains and tearing and rending flesh. And then I throw him against the wall as I end my turn.
Incredible. And as this chain demon just smashes against the wall, like he sort of crumbles for a bit and then goes and sort of lifts himself up with these chains once again, and they start spiraling around him. But it's not his turn. It is the noble mastiff's turns. So
they will continue trying to take him down in a sense.
take him down, take him down a peg.
Okay, that is going to be 15.
Okay, that doesn't connect, I'm afraid.
Okay. All right. So yeah, they're just biting and
Yeah,
struggling
barking.
as best they can. Just Cadwell is trying to make his way towards the marshal though during this whole fight scene. So
noted, absolutely noted. So we're back to the top of the round. Damien, the comedian.
Seeing the big dragon smashing the jailer to the wall, and he smiles and says to the monster, "What has hands but cannot clap? A clock!" And casting vicious mockery on the monster.
Take a point of inspiration.
Thanks. Wisdom saving throw. DC 15
yes.
for the monster.
DC 15. He makes it on the roll, I'm afraid. He's pretty good at that.
In that case, I would just go back and go to the cages with Silas. So yeah, that's what I will do after that.
So you're heading sort of circling around the battlefield to try and get closer to the marshal as well.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. It is the Chain Devil's turn, and furious at this complete onslaught from this black dragon, the Chain Devil changes tact and decides to go full fury back at the dragon. So here we go. All 4 chains coming your way. AC is 18, yes?
Yeah, AC 18, Battle of the Titans, here we go.
That is a critical. And the other one is a 26. So those 2 hit.
Ouch.
That one's a miss, and that one is a 21. So that's 3 out of the 4.
Okay, so give me that. So do the damage slowly, because I have to make con saves for each one.
Okay. First one is 13.
For the nat 20?
No. I'm saving that for last.
Okay. Okay, I make that one.
Okay. That's also 13.
Okay. And I easily make that one.
Fine. And nat 20 Here we go.
Ow.
That
You
is-
tell that smile's gonna hurt.
Yeah, that is 31 points of damage.
So okay, so it halves down to 15.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna reuse my point of inspiration
Do it.
because I got a 3.
Oh.
And so it has to be 15. Okay, I got a 17.
So
I managed
what
to
is that
maintain my
stop-
state.
Is that to stop you reverting back into your other form?
Yeah,
then?
it's a concentration save.
And you made all of them?
Yeah, because so it's either 10 or half of the total damage I took,
That's fine.
whichever's higher. So I had to roll 2 10s and then I had to roll a 15.
That's fine. But so you retain your form, but just to explain what this chain devil does, he misses with his first attack, but the rest of them, one chain just uppercuts you under your dragon jaw. The other one drives you back into the bars of this cage, and then the critical swings in and it just smashes you straight through 6 of the cages along the left side of the room. You're just smashing through the bars and crash into the wall at the back. This truly a battle of the titans now going on against you both. We then swoop back to Cadwell. You have made it across to the other side of this chamber, and you see the marshal, Micah Wynn, obviously very, very much aware of what's going on around him, despite his tortured, starved self. And he is pulling himself up in the back bars of the cage away from you. And as the fight is going on, it's almost like the sound of battle dims as this starved, helpless man, a man who has lived his life trying to do the right thing, stares at you from across the other side of the cage. You see a man who was a good man, like I say, but you see a desperate man. And he says, "Not a step closer. Not a step closer, or I swear to God, all of the gods of the Pantheon, I'll tell you. I will tell you everything." A confusing statement.
But I imagine Cadwell has a very inquisitive mind, and knowing secrets, unraveling mysteries is something that he can't help but want to know. And he approaches the marshal in his cage close, as the bars are the only thing that separate them at this point. He goes, "You know that we can't save you, but I can save your secret." And he motions an ear as if, just whisper it, just tell me what it is that you know, why are we here to silence you, kind of, what is this all about?
He looks to you and he knows that you are here to kill him. And to most people in the world, that is the most terrifying thing in the world. But to Micah Wynn, former marshal, a brave man that has been put through a lot, who has never told anyone, not through torture, not through torment, this secret. But he sees a way out. He sees bliss in death. Cadwell, are you holding a weapon? You're holding your rapier, aren't you, from your stick?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So, with the last of his strength, he heaves himself up the bars and he staggers towards you. And he shows that he's going to reach for you. He's not obviously trying to pull anything. And he takes your blade, the blade by the hand, in his hand, and he pushes it to the base of his throat. And he looks into your eyes and he says, "Are you sure?"
Cadwell just simply gives a nod, knowing that like he said before, he can't save this man's life. And this would be a mercy at this point.
He stops and he looks down and he says, just tell me one thing before I tell you who sent you. I have to know.
And it's not audible, but Cadwell simply gets as close as he can, and it's but a whisper.
And realization as he knows who sent you, and he says, well, in that case, I do not hesitate to tell you this. Because do not take it to heart. It will likely result in your death. But very well. And he leans in close to you. The battle rages on, however, and Jasher, you are pulling yourself out of the wreckage of a cage, and you see the chain demon sort of circling you, whipping around those chains once again. What do you do?
I think it's like when you see two predators facing off, they kind of circle each other. So I start circling around again also, looking for an opportunity. And I feel like the opportunity comes as the chain devil, like maybe kind of in fear, looks over, seeing the rapier against this other piece of its soul's throat. And it kind of looks over for a second, and I spring forward again. And I'm going to make 3 more attacks.
Perfect.
Nat 20, no lies.
Oh my god. Perfect.
Holy crap.
Woo, this is just a heavy, heavy fight right here.
This is gonna, okay, that's gonna hurt. 9 plus 8 plus 7, 24, plus 24 plus 11 plus 3, that's 35, 38 points of damage on the bite.
Jasher, the black dragon, the dread of the night sky. Tell me how you destroy the jailer.
So the dragon rushes forward, and one claw slams on one side of its shoulder, and one claw slams on the other. And then dragons, which are capable of speech, I look down at him and say, you shouldn't have shown me that. And my mouth opens wide, and you see that caustic acid flowing in the back of my throat. But instead I clamp down on the top of his torso, covering him completely. And then acid just pours out as I use my breath from the top down.
Oh,
and you just hear screams of this creature of myth,
and
as he melts.
that is the perfect thing, because as you are bearing down on him, this acid breath just corroding this creature, he gives a screech, for not even the lawkeepers themselves were fully able to unmake the jailer, but now unmade by a dragon, he staggers back. You can see he reaches forth with a chain once again in a last attempt to get you, but you notice as the chain's getting closer, bits of it are just corroding and breaking down. He takes another step towards you, his being melting into a corrosive pool surrounding him, and he gives one final reaching, shuddering gasp and goes and just collapses to the ground in a pool of acid. The battle is done. The chain demon is destroyed, and Cadwell, your face is inches from Micah Wynn's. And he says, you know of what threatens this land, don't you? You know of the rising darkness. You know that Farwide is in danger from Advent. Well, I'm Now able to tell you. It's really quite simple. This is all the design of the God King himself. Advent have been allowed to reap chaos in Farwide at his whim. Why? Certainly, Farwide cannot be conquered by armies, but it can be torn apart from within. Advent is his design, and as he says this, he pushes your blade deep into his throat. Blood oozes from his mouth and his eyes, and he smiles as he falls back and clatters to the ground dead. We move the story forward a few nights. You are all able to escape Castle Lock due to the carefully laid plans of the plague bird, who is now missing, disappeared, like a shadow, like a ghost. The journey is long, and talk is at a minimum. You are professionals, and you head to Horizon to complete your task. On arrival, one thing is clear. Horizon is an ancient ruin of what could only be described as a Colosseum of some type, but it has walls around it. And as you approach, you notice on those walls are dozens of silver guard, the famous mercenary soldiers that are the Iron Fist of Advent. As you arrive, you are flanked by these numbers. They all look the same, uniformed, faceless, all helmed. And they march you to the center of this Colosseum. Once again, the light of the three moons beam down upon this Colosseum. And you are left waiting. Is there anything that you want to do at all? Or say to each other?
So I'm going to assume that it never came up that Cadwell heard the secret.
That's entirely up to Cadwell.
Yeah, Cadwell would just retain it to himself. The mission was to kill Micah, which was accomplished. So
Yeah, so Jasher would be at ease. She wouldn't have any reason to fear. If it had come up that he did know the secret, I think Jasher would be aware that betrayal could be in order, especially because they were willing to send us into Castle Lock to kill somebody who knew the secret. So Jasher's at ease, though. She doesn't know any of this. So I think she's like always kind of aware, like, and warned of like a situation, especially when it has to do with like big powers like this. So she might be like nervously fingering a flask inside of her vest. But other than that, she's not doing anything.
And you're waiting there a little while, and you notice that these forces of Advent, they don't speak to each other. They don't seem to, commune with each other at all. They barely acknowledge you. They simply escort you into the middle of this ruin. And then It's almost like the light of the moonlight dims slightly as a silhouette appears at the top of some stairs on the side of this Colosseum. Almost gliding down these stairs, clad in black armor, wreathed in a red cloak that surrounds a terrifying black and white mask. A glowing yellow eye on one side. Equinox descends to stand in front of you. The fear of the Nine Kingdoms. Every step is with menace. And it feels like the oxygen is drawn from the room. His presence is indescribable. And he stares at you for some time before saying, "So, it seems the Court of Whispers were bound by their word. What is your report?"
And Jasher, with her head bowed, kind of in respect almost to this powerful, powerful being, looks back at him and just says, "He is dead."
Equinox takes a few steps around you, looking at you. Silas Cadwell, Jasher, Damien the comedian, seemingly sizing you up. He seems to stalk around you like a panther. And then comes to a stop in front of you once again. And he says, "You have done well. It has served the Court of Whispers and the Seneschal's best interest that this secret remains unknown to the people of Far Wide. It does not, however, serve mine. You must have known. The secret as volatile as this would mean your destruction, whether you had learned it or not. You, like moths, have drawn too close to the flame." And as he utters this final word, that one yellow eye scans the three of you and grows brighter and brighter and brighter until there is nothing but yellow, disintegrating energy. And that is where we will leave our story tonight. So,
This son of a gun.
so, gentlemen, I would like to thank you for an absolutely wonderful experience. I had no idea how this was going to go. I wanted to give you guys a situation and just see sort of what approach you would take, and I would kind of just run with it. And I don't know, it's something different than what I'm used to doing. Give me some of your thoughts before we sign off. Tell me stuff that stuck out for you.
So I really like the free structure of the approach. Like, it didn't feel like there was any like single way that we could do things. Like, there was plenty of ways to get information. I'm sure that if we wanted to, we could have inspected his room to figure out where Micah was being held. It was just very free.
Yeah. Okay. Thoughts in general? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed it. as Ty said, I thought it was very freeform. It didn't feel like it was restrictive. It didn't feel like it was railroaded. I did want to run an insight check on the spy master when he was all like, you know, you're going to go to this ancient ruin and give your report. And I was all like, sounds like a setup. But I was like, it's probably impossible to tell off of the spy master, being that is his title. So, but yeah.
Well, you never know. It might not have been the end for you. It was probably the end for one of you, but I don't know. Matthew, what are your thoughts?
I really had fun. I had many options to use, and I tried to use them wisely. I honestly didn't thought that we would walk into a trap at the end. Yeah.
Oh,
it was a good twist, though. It was a good twist.
Yeah.
That's okay. Then.
No, Jasher.
Well, to be honest, like I was so impressed with Jasher. I was impressed with all of you guys. Like, you all were so creative in how you use your characters. Like, I didn't foresee this being like too combat heavy. I knew that there was going to be the chain demon and stuff, but there was so, you brought such rich detail to all of your characters. Like it just made that, for me, was the highlight for me. Just all of your reactions to certain situations and stuff. I really enjoyed doing that. So without further ado, thank you ever so much for those who have been watching, and also massive thanks go out to Marquise, Stereotypical Strider. Go watch his stuff on YouTube. The dude is incredible. As I always say, the man role plays like a beat poet. He is wonderful, and brought a really cool character to the table as well. Who knows where he went? Maybe we'll find out one day. So starting with Matthew, if you'd like to sign off and give us anything you would like before we go.
Like I said before, I'm Matthew. I have the channel Harpa's Den. I'm gonna probably make another game of my own setting of Priscana where dragons rules, maybe in February. So stay tuned if anyone is interested.
Fantastic. Yeah, definitely. Everyone watching, go check that out. Tyler.
So I'm Tyler from On a Roll. Great game. Super loved exploring the idea of the Druid Alchemist. That was super fun. Really great game. Happy to participate in a little bit of Lore Keeper's lore, so that's awesome. And thing to plug. If you like games, check out my channel. I run a lot of them. If you're looking for people to game with, check out the AbTab group, Absolute Tabletop, on YouTube, on Facebook. And I just had tons of fun. So thanks for running a great game, Rob.
And thank you very much for being part of it, dude. You brought such amazing stuff to this. You all did. And finally, Alan.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, Rob. It was a great game. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed playing with all you guys and Marquise. And you can check me out on Check for Traps. Right now, I run several Dragon Grin games off of there, which that is Tim and James Tabletop Terrors setting. It's really great setting. I have a Monster Hunters game coming up in a week or so. So check that out, and catch you guys in the AbTab group.
Absolutely. And yeah, do go check out that Monster Hunting series, because I checked out, I think, the last one that you did, and really great stuff. So go definitely check that out. Go subscribe to all these guys. Fantastic work being done on their channels. So for those of you watching now live, thank you ever so much for dropping by. It means a lot. And for those watching after the fact, thank you ever so much. If you would like this video, then give it a like. If you would like to see more like it, then give it a subscribe, or not. We're all friends here, or are we? Great stuff. Loved it. Awesome. You've been watching Performance Check, and I hope that all of your performances are up to standard. Wink. Do you want to give a wink, guys? There we go. Top stuff. Catch you on the flip side.